leaking oil from their rotation, the one thing that they refused to address this at this trade deadline.
Yeah, and they probably shouldn't. Are you talking about the Cardinals or the Mets?
The Mets.
Okay.
The Mets. The Mets
I was about to
refused.
say, they shouldn't.
The only reason of hope for the Cardinals is the fact that the Mets did not invest in their rotation, because that is the one thing that can really send them spiraling out of control.
Cardinals offense since the All-Star break, if you're just looking ranking-wise on where they're at, they're 26th in offensive production. They're about 12% below league average offensively. For context, the Nationals, the Rangers, and the Yankees are tied for 29th. They're 1% worse offensively than the Cardinals have been in the second half. So this offense is still not out here exactly tearing it up. And then pitching-wise, your rotation has still not been very good. Despite yesterday, a really good performance by Sonny Gray. They are 29th since the break. The Cardinals are in starting rotation ERA with a 5.92 ERA since the All-Star break. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. T-Bone, just a heads up on the ones and twos. It does appear that the YouTube, we are finally back on. YouTube.com/101 ESPN STL is available for you as well. Alex, we've talked about this a lot all year long. We've been comparing where the Cardinals are at to where the Blues were at. The Blues were able to make a push from almost this exact same place in the standings at roughly this time in their season. For the Cardinals to go on that kind of a run, what would it require? What do you think it would look like for them to be able to do so?
I mean, for me, it's offense. Offense is what it's going to have to be. And if you want to add in it elite bullpen usage, which, I mean, I don't know if I would put it in elite category, but it's been really damn good considering what you traded away in terms of Helsley and Matz and Maton, and you've been piecing it together with guys that look like they have a real chance to be something. But if you're going to put any belief in this, it comes down to your offense. The offense is what put you in the position in the first couple of months of the season. It's what lost you a shot at the playoffs and forced you into that trade deadline push for how quiet your offense went in June. I think that's what it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be seeing Jordan Walker consistently emerge, having the MVP-esque season that Ivan Herrera had earlier on, talking about your offense being good from top to bottom. That's at least what it's going to put you in the conversation if the Mets continue this down spiral.
Yeah, I think it's two things that have to happen for them to go on the run. And it's basically the formula that I mentioned that happened in May. The offense is playing at a top 10 level like it did for the first part of the season. Now, they may not be able to do that in slugging, but they were able to manufacture runs, be one of the best offenses that there was in baseball. And then it just comes down to just the starting staff get hot again. Because in May, they did. In May, the rotation itself had a 3.43 ERA, which was 11th best in Major League Baseball.
I remember that time. They were on pace to be the best defense in baseball history. T-Bone even convinced himself. I know they don't have swing and miss, but boy, this rotation can work.
They can do that again. If the pitching staff can get hot. I mean, I don't think the bullpen's going to take a significant step back. I think you would have already seen that from some of the arms that they've brought up since the trade deadline. It just comes down to, can the offense get back to where it was in the first half of the season? And then can your rotation just go on a run for a month, right? If the rotation can just get hot for a month, you might be able to do enough to go on this miraculous run that we're talking about.
I think you need two other guys. So Wilson Contreras in the second half of the season. I don't feel like there's been enough talk about this. He's been amazing. He's been so good offensively in the second half. He's 55% above league average. He's batting .285, but he's getting on base at 36% of the time, and he's slugging .550. Guy's been great. You need two other pieces of this offense to get going. When they were at their best in the first half of the season, you had Wilson Contreras starting his ascent. Really, since May, he's been basically this. You had Brendan Donovan playing like not only an all-star, like a superstar level player. And then you had Ivan Herrera, who looked like he would never record an out again at the major league level. So those three pieces were great for you offensively. Now you look at where you're at today. Walker's been pretty good. Mason Wynn's been pretty good. Gorman's been solid. And Contreras has been great. You need two other pieces beyond just Wilson Contreras to be at that great level to carry your offense, because I agree with Alex. I don't think this is a team that can win consistently with run suppression. They're just not good enough in the rotation right now. And until that changes, I can't really bet on it for a 6-week stretch of time. Anybody can get hot. We've seen this in the playoffs at time where, I mean, think about the superstars that are the players that have become superstars, household names in October. It's basically a 1 month stretch, and that's what we're talking about here for the Cardinals. Over a 1 month stretch, who can get hot? Who can go crazy? That's what they need. They need two other guys beyond Wilson Contreras to get into that. Just what's going on right now with Jordan Walker, with Mason Wynn, with Ivan Herrera, Brendan Donovan. Lars Newport has shown this in the past. Alec Burleson, for a first half of a season, has shown this capability. They need to find that. Two more guys have to be inserted into that mix. They have guys that are capable of it. We just have to be able to see it. And until that happens, I'm not willing to buy all the way in just yet. But it'd be a hell of a lot of fun if they do.
I mean, bring the mood down, by the way, on a Monday.
It's not even about buying in. It's just I think the Mets aren't a team that looks like they deserve the playoffs. And frankly, just gives yourself some more excitement than what it's been for the next couple of weeks.
There's also no downside to this.
Well, that's the thing.
If you're the Blues, remember the reason that we were like, screw it. Let's see what this looks like. The reason why is because they had already had so many prospects going through their system. Like, this was the core. So let's find out now, right? The Cardinals cannot get a top 9 selection in next year's draft. So there's almost no value in stinking up the joint the rest of the way. And even if you end up falling down a little bit, you're going to have like the 15th pick. Okay, what's the value of that really compared to being in the race down the stretch and finding out what these young guys have in them? That's so much more valuable. So I think it's the best case scenario for them to get back into this thing. I just don't trust it.
Well, that's the biggest point. Like, I think if they had if they could draft in the top 5, we would all be singing a very different tune right now.
Oh, I would be saying tank for whoever is available.
Well, we'd also be like, what the hell are you doing, Cardinals? You're not even good at being bad. Like, you need to be
100%.
bad right now. But because there's no benefits to it, you might as well give these guys an opportunity to play playoff baseball so that you could figure out what these guys are made of. Because if Gorman turns it on the rest of the way and keeps it going, if Walker does, well, now it makes your evaluations a lot more difficult. But, as BK says, when the brights get lightest, if they all crumble and you just lay eggs between Colorado and the Yankees and the Marlins and Pittsburgh and Tampa, cool. I think we got our answers.
He's Alex. This T-Bone. I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. YouTube is available for you at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. That is where the never-ending white, Eddie, Bill, iRock, NY, Tanner Skidmarks, they're all hanging out right now over in the YouTube chat, having a great time. You guys can go over there with them right now, youtube.com/101ESPN STL. That is where John Jay will be joining us coming up here in about 15 minutes. Katie Wu, Cardinals Insider, joins the show at noon. But coming up next, has Nolan Gorman captured your attention with his recent performance? Certainly has defensively, but that's not for the right answers. What about on the offensive side of things? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. Alex and T-Bone on BK. So Nolan Gorman has been pretty darn good recently. If you look at the overall numbers, you go all the way back to, I believe it's June 7th now. And in that stretch of time, he's batting .240 with a .465 slugging percentage. Alex, we've talked about this in the past with Jordan Walker. Even through some of his recent successes, the underlying numbers are like, not sure how much you should actually buy into this. With Gorman, it's the opposite. The underlying numbers suggest not only has he been good, he's actually been a bit unlucky. He's hitting the ball hard consistently. He's hitting for power with some regularity now. He's starting to look like the player that we were sold that he would eventually become. Decent average, but nothing that you're going to write home about. Solid on base because he hits for an okay average, and he takes his walks occasionally and hits the crap out of the ball. Alex, even over the weekend, yesterday, he made a really terrible play at third base. Just a bad throw. Ended up with an error. That cost them the run. That ultimately cost them the lead. But then later on in the game, comes through in a big spot, drives in Jordan Walker, and helps you win the game. What do you make of what we're seeing right now from Nolan Gorman?
Man, every time we talk about him, my instant reaction is consider me skeptical. Because it's hard for me to invest any optimism with Nolan Gorman. But, man, I can't deny 2 months of this being just consistent now. Like, if I'm going to act as if Jordan Walker has made changes, I have to say the same thing on Nolan Gorman. And side note, I could care less about his defensive play at third base. It sucks for the team now when you cost runs like that, but he's not your future third baseman. So, to me, it doesn't matter. To me, that's JJ Wetherholt's spot moving forward.
Are we positive?
99% positive because
okay.
I don't think Wetherholt's a second baseman because they value Brendan Donovan, and I think Brendan Donovan's there. And if you're going to move Donovan to the outfield, well, good luck because you got 6 guys that are playing that spot.
I'm not as positive about that. And the reason why is because if Gorman keeps playing this way, what if they consider trading Donnie in the offseason, putting Gorman at second base, putting Wetherholt at third, and then that becomes your infield? Now you've allowed, because Wetherholt has some similarities in skill set to what Brendan Donovan brings to the table. I love Brendan Donovan as much as anybody. This is not me. This is kind of the Ivan Barbashev thing, right? Contract situation, what he brings to the table, what he's about to be paid, all of these different things. Timeline-wise, does he make sense? That's the conversation that I'm trying to have here with Donnie. And if Gorman continues to show this, I don't think defensively he's been very good. I think he's been bad, borderline unplayable at third. Some of that is he just hasn't played the position in a few years very much because Arenado plays there every single day. That's not a shot at the Cardinals. That's the right way to handle it when Arenado was what he was. But now he's going to go through some of these mental lapses before he hopefully eventually figures it out. But yeah, maybe that's Gorman's spot. Maybe that's Wetherholt's spot. However they decide to do it, I think that it's a little bit more up in the air to me as to what this infield's going to look like next season and beyond. And that, to me, is what Gorman's doing right now. He's putting that into question. And that's been the goal all along, is you should have questions in your mind on, is this guy a part of our future? 6 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I would have told you, no, probably not. I still would lean in that direction. But if over the next 6 weeks he keeps playing this way, man, I mean, he's at a minimum opening my eyes to what is possible with Nolan Gorman. He's got to get better defensively.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he is opening the eyes a little bit because he just has the one thing that you don't have internally, which is just pure power from the left side. Like Burleson's got some pop, but he's probably maxed out at 20, I would say. Like if everything clicks for Nolan Gorman, I mean, you're talking about a 30 home run hitter. I mean, you look back to 2 years ago, 2023, he hit 27 home runs in 119 games. So even saying 30 might be cutting him a little bit short. But I think he is kind of putting this infield into flux. I agree with that because I think the final 2 months, it's not decided yet what they're going to do. But I think it's an evaluation of, okay, we probably have to trade one of Donovan and Mason Wynn. I think it's down to those 2 guys. So we free up a spot for whether that is Gorman at second base or Wetherholt at second base or Wetherholt at shortstop. I think it's down to, okay, do we keep Brendan Donovan or Mason Wynn in this situation? I think those are the 2 guys that are under the most pressure in the final 2 months to kind of secure their spot for the future of the St. Louis Cardinals, because Wetherholt can take one of those spots. They can play him at shortstop if they want. They can play him at second base. Third base is the one that I just don't know because I think they're going to be stuck with Nolan Arenado, and if you're stuck with Arenado at third base, they're probably going to play him, and now it's clogged up even more. So maybe you have to trade 2 of these guys. Maybe that's how Gorman becomes the odd man out. But, I mean, there is no denying his power, if he continues this, is the best in the organization. And there's nobody close that I would say.
Marmol said that on Friday with us.
Yeah, and there's nobody close even coming that looks like they profile for power. JJ profiles probably more in that 15 to 20 home run club than he does the Gorman category, which is 30 to 35.
That's the thing to me, man. Gorman, did you know that right now he's 4th on the team in home runs this year? He has 10 home runs. He's only played in 73 games. He has 2 fewer home runs than Lars Nootbaar, despite playing in 20 fewer games and having 150 fewer at-bats. Like, the pop is something that this team so desperately needs. And you see how it can completely change a game. And you saw it over the weekend from Jordan Walker. Like, when you have that kind of power potential in your lineup and it becomes actualized, like you actually see it coming to fruition, man, it changes things for me. So I need to see more of it. I'm not there yet, but Alex, you asked about, like, is this for sure going to be Wetherholt? Can Wetherholt be your future third baseman? Is that locked in right now? Gorman can also open my eyes there. If he eliminates all of his defensive miscues at third and he starts to get more comfortable there, I think a lot of it is mental right now. If that happens for him, he can unlock that opportunity for him long term as well. So, yeah, it's opening my eyes right now. I need to see, much like what I said in the opening segment, 6 more weeks of them playing sustained quality baseball as a team. I also need to see that from Gorman as an individual player. If we can see that, though, man, I do think he can still work his way into the future of this team. I think that's what the next 6 weeks are all about. Which of these guys are he actually building around? And somebody on the YouTube chat said, guys, this is just increasing his trade value. Maybe. Or maybe you look at the other players and say they have more value than Gorman via trade, and we still view Gorman as being a good player here. Let's capitalize on Brendan Donovan's value. Let's capitalize on Alec Burleson's value. Let's capitalize on Lars Nootbaar's value, whoever it may be, and then we'll keep Lars Nootbaar internal. That's possible to me still.
I think there's other elements of Brendan Donovan's game that the Cardinals value enough to where I don't know if he's not that he's not on the trade block, but I think it would have to be a significant return for him for the Cardinals to trade him, which is why I'd be a little bit more leaning towards a Nolan Gorman potential trade before I would be a Brendan Donovan, which is why I kind of view that the Cardinals really like Brendan Donovan and he's your second baseman moving forward. But the Gorman piece, if this is consistent and is something that they're investing in and they actually truly believe changes have been made, I think he becomes more valuable to the team in terms of a useful piece, whether it's off of the bench or consistently at DH or filling in at second base moving forward and eliminating other pieces that are expendable on this team.
Yeah, the tough part for me is how do you figure out what to do with this group if you have Arenado back going into 2026? And that's where,
that's
like,
the biggest thing.
You can't.
Yeah.
Well,
you can't have Arenado back.
Like, my expectation is Nolan Arenado will be the starting third baseman come opening day of 2026.
This is more of the reason why you need to, if you can't trade him, you buy him out and get rid of him.
I just don't, like, the expectation should not be, yes,
I'm going to continue
agree.
to operate under the fact that he's not here next year because you can't. You can't operate that way.
Especially if Gorman plays this way.
None of it works.
We talked about this. If Arenado's back next year and Gorman plays this way, now you're adding 2 or 3 guys that needed to be traded off this roster that you don't want to trade versus 1 guy that needs to be traded.
And Arenado just hasn't been performing. So, like, between his performance, his age, all of these different things, and the playing time that is eliminated because of his opportunity there, you can't bring him back. We did get a quick update on Arenado over the weekend, by the way. This comes from Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He said Nolan Arenado's emphasis in his first week at the team complex in Jupiter will be strengthening his arm and his shoulder. He also has a training facility that he uses in the area for added conditioning. The Cardinals do not expect Arenado to join their lineup during the upcoming Florida swing that has the series in Miami August 18th through the 20th and Tampa Bay the 21st through the 24th. So in other words, the real update there, not anticipating Nolan Arenado joining the team in the next 2 weeks. So at a minimum, we're going to see a hell of a lot of Nolan Gorman over the next 2 weeks. This is a real chance here for him, man. And I said this yesterday on Twitter because I saw a lot of people kind of up in arms over his lack of opportunity, so to speak. Dude, he started 34 of their last 40 games that he's been available for. He missed 15 in there because of him being on the injured list, but in terms of when he's been available, he has started 34 of the last 40. That's runway. And you're going to see another 2 weeks now, at least probably 10 to 15 games of him prior to Nolan Arenado if or when he returns. So we're talking about there like a 60-game stretch where he'll probably start 50 of them. That's real opportunity. And eventually, if he's going to get that opportunity, he's got to capitalize on it. So far, he has. We'll see if he can continue it. Coming up in about 15 minutes, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. But next, John Jay, Cardinals outfield coach, is going to join us here on BK and Ferrario. Got a couple of events that he wants to promote. He'll also talk to us about what he's learning about his outfielders next here on BK and Ferrario.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care, who have been making people comfortable since 1926, taking care of people's older HVAC systems or installing new ones for them, which is something that was done for me about a year ago after my old unit in the home that I have just hit the fritz. And Classic Air Care is always available to help. They've got the maintenance agreement, which is helping you out twice a year, maintaining that unit, whatever length of years it's been in your home, making sure it can get you through. But check out their reviews. They got a 5-star review with over 1,000 reviews over on Google Plus talking about their customer service. Like this one from Elizabeth. I've been using Classic Air Care since I purchased my home 7 years ago. The original HVAC system was 16 years old, had a few issues that were able to be serviced, and then finally got a new system installed by Classic Air Care. The process was seamless and affordable. Highly recommend their company and their technicians. Schedule online for your maintenance agreement or check out the financing options if you're in the market for a new HVAC system. Call them or schedule online. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you at classicaircare.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals beat the Cubs last night 3-2 as they take 2 of 3 from their arch rival, and they are back in action tonight as they start a 3-game set with the Colorado Rockies. 6:45 will be first pitch tonight. Miles Michaelis will be on the mound for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, John Jay, Cardinals outfield coach, will join us via the Callier and Thompson hotline here momentarily. He's got an event coming up on September 17th with Daniel Descalso. He'll tell us a little bit about that. He's also going to be a part of the St. Louis Cornhole Challenge. That is Jason Mott's event, which is coming up this Thursday. Still some opportunities to register for that, whether you just want to go as a spectator, go out there, eat, drink, have a good time, or if you'd like to register a team or become a sponsor. All of that is available for you online right now. JasonMottFoundation.org is the place where you can go. Again, JasonMottFoundation.org, or check out some of the details at 101ESPN.com. We'll talk more about that coming up momentarily with John Jay, the Cardinals outfield coach, when he joins us here on BK and Ferrario. Alex, I'm not sure there's been a guy in the organization that's had a more difficult job over the last couple of seasons than John Jay. Can I read you a list of players that have spent at least an inning in the outfield for the Cardinals this year?
It's going to be a long list.
It is. Victor Scott II, Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, Alec Burleson, Brendan Donovan, Garrett Hampson, Michael Ciani, Jose Barrero, Ryan Valade, Ivan Herrera, and Jose Fermin. 11 different players have spent time in the outfield for the Cardinals this year.
I think this is quick math by me. 3 of them were naturally infielders or catchers?
Oh, more than that. Walker was originally an infielder.
Well, I mean, like, at the big league level.
Okay.
Infielders, because Jose Fermin,
Donovan, Barrero, technically by trade.
And then Herrera as well as the catcher. So, yeah, 4 of them in terms of, hey, need you as an outfielder.
Yeah, so he's been converting a lot of players to the outfield. He's done a really great job. The Cardinals have given him a ton of credit for what he's been able to do in the outfield with some of these guys as they try to either learn a new position or improve upon a position that they had previously played. We are hoping to have John Jay join us here momentarily on BK and Ferrario. Alex, when you think about the job that this outfield has done this season, what would you grade them thus far in terms of the performance? The outfield overall, relative to expectations, because obviously they're not going to be, the Boston Bomber or the Bronx Bombers.
Yeah, I think I'd give it like a B plus in terms of working with a lot of these guys transitioning to the outfield, or also the growth of their game in terms of Alec Burleson's growth in the outfield, becoming an everyday player, Jordan Walker continuing to improve his defense. The reason I wouldn't go to an A level is because it has still been a revolving door. You've seen a lot of guys out there. You've seen a lot of guys getting reps that you weren't expecting to, so it's hard to get that consistency built in to where now you're seeing Burleson as viewed as an everyday outfielder for the team, Jordan Walker as well, but now you're talking about Nootbaar in center, you're talking about Scott getting some days off, Herrera getting some out there, so I'd go a B plus in terms of the growth.
Defensively, I'd probably give them a B or an A.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been really good defensively. Offensively, I'd go closer to a D. I just don't think it's been good enough production-wise for you in the outfield so far this year. They're 28th offensively in OPS among their outfielders this season. Only Cleveland and Kansas City are lower. So I guess you kind of grade it out overall. The offensive side of things is probably a little bit more important, but defensively, the work that they've done has been super impressive.
Started off hot with Nootbaar, and then that trailed off a little bit, and then got injured. Started off hot with Victor Scott, and that has trailed off significantly. And then Walker started off cold, and then now has gotten hotter with this one. The only guy that it's been consistent from start to finish has been Burleson.
Yeah, he's been good, and he's actually cooled down a lot in the second half as well. recently. So we're hoping to be joined by John Jay here momentarily, having some technical difficulties with the stream. So we might end up just having him here on the phone. Again, he's joining us on behalf of the Jason Mott 11th Annual St. Louis Cornhole Challenge that is coming up on Thursday. It's a fun event. I know 101 ESPN has been a part of this for a number of years now. It'll be over at the Beer Garden at Anheuser-Busch in downtown. Doors are going to be opening on Thursday at 4:45. Festival begins a little closer to 6, and it appears that we've got John Jay now joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Looks like he might have just dropped again, so we'll try to do this here in just a little bit. T-Bone, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go take a break, so that way we're not trying to do this live on the air together. We'll see if we can get John Jay on the air with us coming up next here on BK and Ferrario. I believe we have all the technical issues worked out now. We are happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by John Jay. Alex, has been a Cardinals takeover the last couple of days here on the show. We had Ollie Marmol in studio with us on Friday. John Jay, Cardinals outfield coach, joining us now on BK and Ferrario. John, we appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
What's going on, fellas? Not too bad. Not too bad. I've had a pretty good morning, so everything's good.
A good weekend for you guys as well, and we'll talk with you a little bit about the event that you've got going on with Daniel Descalso coming up here in about a month or so. We will also be discussing the cornhole event going on for Jason Mott here in just a little bit. But tell us a little bit about the weekend. Cardinals versus Cubs. Yadier Molina in town. Seemed like a good one out there at Busch Stadium.
It was great. It was honestly awesome to see. Obviously we had the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry, and just to see, all the fans out there, that was super cool. And then obviously Yachty coming back is it's huge, right? And I just loved the way the weekend went. I thought it was great with Ollie having Yachty in the dugout and just being around the guys, and it was just really refreshing. And for me personally, just Yachty meant so much to me in my career. I mean, this guy taught me, what it takes to be a pro, what it takes to go out there and win. And during those times, and we kind of talked about it, where veteran players were really involved with, decisions and just things that went on, especially with Tony. And it was just pretty cool, like looking back and reflecting on those conversations that the veterans would have about us young guys and myself and Descalzo and Craig and Freeze, and how, they wanted us around. They knew that we were going to help them, win a championship. And it's pretty cool how that all worked out. So it was awesome to have Yachty around, and just, obviously big series win for us, right? We did it against the Dodgers as well, which is a tough environment. So it's pretty good for the guys just to taste the success against teams that are supposed to be in the playoffs right now.
John, did you see a lot of the guys kind of gravitating towards Yachty and soaking it all in as much as possible to have him in the dugout for 2 days?
For sure. I mean, you saw that. You saw Pajes and Pozo just getting some extra work with him, and just really getting to, dive in and ask some questions, pitchers asking stuff, and position players, hitters, I know he had some good individual conversations with a couple of other guys on the team. So it was just great to have him around, and just obviously what it's meant to the game, done in the game. And, if you look at a guy like Yachty, he had his ups and his downs, you remember him starting off as just a defensive guy and then really learning how to hit and just taking over this franchise and what he means to, not only, the St. Louis community, just on and off the field. It's pretty cool.
Do you still talk with Yachty regularly? I know he had mentioned, I think it was Pedro Pajes said that Yachty will reach out to him occasionally with anything that he didn't like about his game. Is there anything that you guys are still able to converse about?
Oh, for sure. We talk, we keep in contact. We have that bond of that team and that group of guys that will never go away. So I think it's a respect thing, right? Like I just respect him so much. And I think that was one of the thing with me as a younger guy. He respected the way we went about our business. And it's cool to be older now and just kind of reminisce and talk and kind of, we're still friends, right? So it's always cool.
John, a big picture, when we had Ollie in studio on Friday, he's talked numerous times this season about how, a lot of these younger guys are just figuring out what it takes to be big leaguers, need to figure that out before their career can really take off. You've been in their shoes before. What's the toughest part when you're a younger guy trying to figure out what it takes to be a big leaguer?
It's a lot, right? Especially nowadays. We didn't have to deal with all the social media, the internet, just so many people. I feel like today's player is dealing with a lot more adversity from a younger age, right? From the time they're 12, 13, 14 years old, they're on Instagram and there's, tournaments and everything's just kind of highlighted, where in my era, we were kind of allowed to fail behind the scenes and not be so highlighted with stuff. So I think for these guys, it's just a combination of things. And I tell guys all the time, the hardest thing about the big leagues is really controlling your phone, right? Where you have so much outside noise and so many different people giving you advice and different things going on, and you're trying to survive. I mean, it's the big leagues. It's you're competing with the best in the world, and there's a reason that this game, it's a hard game as it is, and just to play at this level, it's hard. And there's always going to be a learning curve in everything we do in life, right? It's like becoming a parent, right? As soon as you become a parent, you might think you know what you're doing and have things figured out or whatnot, and it's a constant adjustment. It's a constant battle every day, and it's the same thing playing in the big leagues. There's so many different things that are going on, and the game moves at a faster pace, and that's something that can't be replicated in the minor leagues. Right? We can talk about things all you want, but until you experience it and go out there and feel that pressure of what it's like to win every single day, especially in a town like St. Louis where there's high expectations, right? You're not in the city where it's like, oh, the team's losing or the team's not doing well, whatever. But this is a city that is behind baseball. It loves its Cardinals, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that.
How do you manage that as a coach, John? You mentioned all of the external factors that can influence a player, just the mood day to day. As a coach, how do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, that's my role. That's my job, right? Is to try to help guys and guide them through that. And then I try to do that through my personal experience. You got to get to know the guys, get to know what clicks, how they grew up, what are different things that they've experienced, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. And that's our role as coaches. So I'm just here as a, obviously I'm a coach, but, as a mentor, as a friend, somebody that can talk to that's been through it and knows exactly what this grind is like. So, it's constant communication on just little things that are going on and just trying to nip things in the bud when it happens.
John, individually, I know the one guy that so many St. Louis Cardinals fans talk a lot about is Jordan Walker, and you've been working with him a lot this season. How have you seen his game overall grow from where he was maybe last year or at the beginning of this season to where he's at right now?
Yeah, I was just trying to build off the base that he had. And to give Jordan, credit, in the offseason, we got together, we started working. And then, during the season, the same thing. And I think you've kind of seen him improve little by little, which is what you want, right? A guy like that, it's very rare where you see those players, the Bobby Witts, right, that they just come on the scene and in year two, they just dominating and taking over. Those are the guys that are making, they're getting those big contracts. So, there's a learning curve for everybody. And you're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs, but he's responded well on how he's attacked, his craft, just his routine, just different things. And just, learning what it takes to be successful in this league every day.
John Jay is our guest here on 101 ESPN. John, one of your newest projects that you've taken on is Ivan Herrera. I feel like you've had a number of those over the last couple of years. We were talking about this earlier. You've had 11 different players take the outfield at some point this year. Tell us a little bit about that experience so far. What it's been like for you to work with Ivan on a day-to-day basis on figuring out the outfield.
Yeah, he's been great. And I can say this for the whole group, Victor Scott, New, everybody. Vic started his journey in the offseason with this. But to talk about Ivan specifically, I saw it in spring training. I saw the way he'll shag during batting practice. He'll get live reads and just kind of have fun out there. And he's an athletic guy. And so when we kind of had these internal discussions of like, hey, what can we do? What's best for Ivan right now with this season? After going through the injuries that he kind of went through early in the year. It was like, man, I have total confidence that he's going to be good out there and he'll be, be able to improve. And really it's a testament to him. He wants to work every single day. Every day he comes up to me like, hey, what do we got today? Hey, what are we doing? And, there's times in batting practice where I have to tell him like, hey, that's enough for today. Your body's just getting used to a new position. We'll have time to work, the next day or whatnot. So it starts with the guys, right? If the guys buy in, if the guys want to get better, they're going to get better.
In terms of getting better, Ollie's talked a lot about Alec Burleson's growth defensively from where he was early on to where he is now in terms of a guy that just can't come out of the lineup. You've mentioned Jordan Walker's growth, Ivan Herrera. Do you see these guys kind of grasping onto that in terms of when they get that opportunity to take their game to the next level, they run with it?
I think you've seen that, yeah. I mean, and then look at Burley's case, right? In the beginning of the year, there wasn't a lot of playing time for him, and he handled it the right way. He put his head down, he went to work, and, we started a little bit in the outfield, just letting him know, like, hey, man, I think it's going to be good if you just start working in the outfield a little bit because you never know how things are going to open up. And he took it to heart, and he started working on it. And then the day that it came, we were like, hey, you're in the outfield, and then, hey, you're in the outfield again. And he already had a good base because he took the initiative to go out there and do the work. So, I love the way that these young guys have really gone about their business and how they've handled things. And like we always know, right, there's going to be growth periods and there's going to be, good days, bad days. But overall, just the effort is what I'm very concerned about, and the effort's been there.
We're talking to John Jay, Cardinals outfield coach, joining us here on BK and Ferrario. John, you mentioned Vic earlier and some of the work that you were able to get with him in the offseason. They showed a graphic the other night on FanDuel Sports Midwest about his jumps that he's getting this year and the difference between where he was at last year and where he is at now, and it's night and day. Can you describe some of the work that went into that? How did you get to where he is today?
Yeah, just kind of simplifying things, and he's an unbelievable athlete. I mean, he's probably one of the most athletic guys in the league, right? So just kind of bringing it down from there, and then also like the experience, right? Like you get used to playing the outfield in the minor leagues, and you're in a stadium with bleachers, and you don't have the whole overhang and all that stuff. So it's different out here in the major leagues, right? There's a lot of stadiums where the ball gets hit in the gap, and you take a jump, and your instincts tell you where the ball's going to go, and you might lose the ball for a second or two. So there's a lot of things like that, and just getting familiar with different stadiums at different times, right? We've seen it, on day games here at 3 o'clock, the sun's in dead center field, or when the game starts in right field, there's that sunspot in right field. So, there's different things of that nature that are involved. And then it was just kind of really just starting from scratch and just saying, all right, let's work on, different angles. Let's work on, what's going to be the best pre-pitch for you. You're such an athletic guy. Like, let's get you in the best base you can get into. So we kind of just broke everything down, stripped it down. But like, to his credit, man, he, in the offseason, he got after, and you could tell, and he took it personal, and we started working in November, and it was just great to really, start to get to know him and just to see what makes him tick. And this guy wants to be great, and that's what you want out of guys. He wants to be great, and he's able to look himself in the mirror every single day. And we have a little, we do game reviews. We talk about a bunch of different things, and he takes the information, and the next day he works on it, and he's been great just the way he's gone about his business.
John, one more big picture question for me. You mentioned the difficulty of canceling out that outside noise for some of these younger players. What's a season like this do to some of these guys mentally, just in terms of maybe not where they wanted to be in terms of the standings or where their individual performance is? And I have to imagine as a player that starts to wear on you once you get to this time of the year.
Yeah, it does, because you're always so worried about your future, right? You're worried about what's going to happen. Am I going to be in this league? Is this going to be my last time here, or whatever the case may be? So, those are all the little things that kind of pop into your head with what's going on. But, when you look at the way the season's gone, we've had our ups, we've had our downs, but, we still control a lot of the narrative going forward, right? And obviously the trade deadline was a trade deadline, that's fine. But, if you look today, we're 3.5 games out of a playoff spot. And, something that I share with the guys is the run we went on in St. Louis in 2011 when we won the World Series, right? We were 11.5 games back, and nobody thought we had a chance. So, that's the beautiful thing about baseball is that, you got to show up, you got to play every day, you got to grind. So it's up to us to, just go out there every single day, try to get a little bit better, play good baseball, and we've showed that. Like, I think it's a big confidence boost for the guys that we just took a series from the Cubs, like we talked about. We won a series against the Dodgers, beat Shohei Ohtani. So these are the little things that you got to think about now when, you've been grinding, right? The off season starts in October, November, and then, you're gone from your family, you're gone from your friends. You're just, you're out here. And we're in the middle of August. It's hot. Different things are going on. So this is, it's up to us, the coaching staff and the players and the veterans, everyone just to stick together and get the job done.
To stick on that line, John, last baseball-related question that I've got for you before we talk about a couple of events that you have coming up. How do you work into that consistency side of things? I know this is a young team, and that's really the last thing seemingly that clicks into place, but you've played some really good baseball over the last week, but then you go before that, and it was not as good baseball. So how do you get more consistency out of these guys?
Well, you're going to have your ups and downs. Every season has it, right? You see this, every team goes through it where they go through that 30-day period where things just don't work out. And that's baseball, right? Balls are getting hit hard or, whatever's going on. You lose a tight game or whatever the case may be. And then, this is a mental game. 90% of this game is mental, so you got to stick to it. And then, I feel like, Ollie's done an unbelievable job with really rallying the troops and just having good individual conversations, with players, with coaches, and just making sure that, we continue to just get better at it. So a lot of credit goes to him of just keeping this group together where things could have easily gone sideways, right? And I think you kind of saw that after the trade deadline, right? It's natural for players to kind of look around and say like, oh, we want to add and we want to do different things. And then, obviously we got, we lost some key pieces to our bullpen, but it's like, hey, the message is simple. Like, we're going to keep playing hard. We're going to keep doing things right. And I give a lot of credit to Ollie of steering the ship the right way with that.
John, we got a couple of events that we want to promote. And first, let's start coming up in September. You and Daniel Descalzo have a event that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's going to be the third year that we do. It's golf and games over at Family Golf. That's owned by a good friend of ours, Adam Betts. So Adam Betts and myself had partnered together for the first two events. And, naturally, since Daniel is here, I was like, it was a no-brainer. And I was like, hey, man, you want to help partner and promote this? And Daniel's always been great at just supporting, local events in St. Louis and charity, but also my personal stuff that I have going on. So it's pretty cool. So the event's going to benefit the J Family Foundation, where, we focus on 3 pillars, which is youth development, community, and scholarship back home in Miami. And we are active as well in St. Louis, which I'll get into now. But another one of the beneficiaries is the PGA Reach Gateway Foundation. So they do amazing things at improving the lives of the community through golf. And, Aldi Smith's the president of their chapter here. And, he's going to be at the event. He's been great in supporting our event and our calls. And, golf for me is a game that, and I was always into it, but I just didn't have the patience and time. And really, if the family's going to give me, 3.5, 4 hours to do something in the off season, usually I'm usually trying to go to the beach or go ride bike or be outdoors doing something like that. But it's really, I've been getting invited to a lot of tournaments and just access to so many courses or whatnot. And I've really fallen in love with a game of golf this year. And, Daniel is a golfer. I mean, this is what he does. I mean, don't be surprised if you see him one day on, playing in Tahoe at these cool tournaments or these little pro-ams and stuff. Like, he's legit. So he's actually my golf coach with that. So that's pretty cool with that. And then we're also benefiting the Boys and Girls Club that here in St. Louis locally, which is amazing. I grew up going to the Boys and Girls Club in Miami. A lot of stuff I do in Miami is with the Boys and Girls Club. So it's just a natural fit. And then about 2 years ago, there's a local pro skateboard legend here, Randy Plosier. And, I'm into skateboarding. I'm into extreme sports. And we started doing a skateboard giveaway here in St. Louis during the Christmas time. So that has grown. So I do that event as well with the Boys and Girls Club. Every Christmas time we donate up. I think last year we were able to donate 65 skateboards. And hopefully this year we'll get to 100 and just continue to help grow that. So, yeah, it's a fun event. It's September 17th from 6 to 9. And we're going to have the closest to pin competition. And whoever wins that will get to go square to square against Descalzo. So that's pretty cool. We have a long drive competition, a lot of fun games. Just, it's a fun night just to raise, money for the local community and the community back at home in St. Louis and in Miami as well.
All right, John, so you mentioned Descalzo. I'd imagine the two of you are doing a decent number of golf outings while you're on the road during the season. Who else is a part of that? If you guys have a foursome, who's going on that with you guys?
It just depends. It's pretty cool. Stubby Clapp will come out, and BA are one of our hitting coaches as well as Packy Elkins. So it's been pretty cool. We got a little golf crew there, and then usually the way it works is day one of the series is kind of like your big day, right? Where like there's a lot more prep work going on. There's you're doing a lot more things, but day two you can kind of like step back and take that breather instead of spending those hours doing that. So usually that day two is when we try to get it in and get around in here or there. It just depends what city we're in and what's going on like that. So like for me, for example, like if we're in San Diego and that day two, I'm trying to go to the beach or like go outside and do something like that. Like that's how I'm spending my morning. Or I'm not like if I'm at the golf course, I won't be able to concentrate. So it just depends where we're at, but it's pretty cool. And just to have access, to some pretty cool golf courses or whatnot. Like during the All-Star break, we went with our families down the Big Cedar Lodge, the Descalzos and the Jays, and one morning, the wifeys were kind enough to give us one morning to go golf, and we got to play Paynes Valley, and that was a super, super cool experience.
I was going to ask, how cool was that? I got to golf on that like 2 years ago, and that was probably the best course that I've ever played on.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, I was just like distracted on how beautiful the course was, and I just had I had my real camera with me, so I like to shoot, just take photos and stuff. I got a nice little Sony, and I brought it to the course, which I know is a big no-no, but I ended up taking photos more than I did golf, and Scouts let me know like, hey, next time don't bring your camera, leave that thing at home. So it's good.
Hey, I would have done the same thing, John. So you're spot on with that.
Have you seen Ollie golf, and how's he? How would you rate his game?
Nah, I think Ollie's more of a show up and just do the right thing and just hang on the card. He hasn't got that bug yet, but one day he'll get on the bug.
All right, last thing, we'll get John Jay out of here on this one. You've got the St. Louis Cornhole Challenge. This is Jason Mott. He's been putting this on for more than a decade now. It's coming up on Thursday. For people that want to get involved, tell them a little bit about what goes on at this one, John.
I mean, I can't talk enough about Jason Mott and who he is as a person, right? We can talk about all the stuff he was able to do on the field, obviously closing out the World Series and doing this stuff, but he's just an unbelievable human. So it's always been amazing to support him for whatever he does. So, obviously I got to go to a bunch of the events when he was here. We actually hosted one together when he was in the Cubs in 2015 here in St. Louis. So that was pretty cool. And then I think I've come back a couple years when I wasn't in baseball and I was out. And like he's a phenomenal dude. I mean, it's just a lot of fun people, get to play some cornhole, get to interact with people. And he's honestly one of the inspirations for me to continue to do things in St. Louis, where I see what he's been able to do. And, I kind of follow his footsteps with everything he's doing. When you guys remember the whole K-Cancer campaign and the shirts and how much money he's been able to raise for people, like I can't talk enough about what an outstanding human being he is.
If you want more information about that, you can check that out on the 101 ESPN website. It's over there. You can also go to jasonmottfoundation.org. John, this has been great, man. Thanks so much for the time on what's a game day for you guys. We'll talk with you again soon, man.
Thanks. And if I can do one more plug in here for our event, there's if you want to get involved as a sponsor, you can email jfamfoundation@gmail.com. And then I'm gonna I'll put something up on my Instagram again, just a sponsorship sheet. Right now we're just working on sponsors, and then tickets are gonna go on sale at September 1st for individual tickets. But any support would be great with that, and I hope to see everybody out at Modder's event this week.
Awesome. Sounds great, man. Reach out to us as well as we get closer to that event. We'll try to help out with any of those tickets and everything.
All right, thanks, guys.
Awesome. You got it. That's Sean Jay joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Appreciate his time as always. Cardinals outfield coach. Again, you can check out his event September 17th. That's Golf and Games at Family Golf. If you are or someone you know may be interested in sponsoring that event, go ahead and check out his Instagram page. He's got all the information over there. John does a ton of stuff in the community, as you just heard there in that interview. So appreciate him taking the time with us today. We'll talk with Katie Wu coming up here in about 15 minutes. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Questions and answers coming up next. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. We'll get to Katie Woo here in just a little more than 5 minutes on BK and Ferrario. Once again, big thanks to John Jay for joining us here on the show. You can check that out on the podcast page after the show today. All right, Alex, let's start out with this from the 314. Guys, what are your thoughts on PCA's style of play? Of course, we'd love to have the bat in the Gold Glove defense, but do you prefer players with flair but mental mistakes, for example, forgetting the outs, picked off, etc., or somebody that's more like Goldie, who's truly a workman-like player? I'll always side with the PCA type.
Yeah, I mean, I like the flair, I like the personality, but we've seen multiple times in certain cities it does not work. Like, sometimes flair gets people frustrated for some reason, but I personally think it's entertaining. I mean, they're in the entertainment business, and I think when you have that flair, but I don't know. I also like consistency, and Goldie's that.
You better be damn good if you're going to play this way.
Yeah.
Like, you better continue to have the success that he has had this year, because otherwise you end up in the spot that, like, I don't know, Jazz Chisholm finds himself in at times with the Yankees fans, right, where they're just consistently getting picked off, stupid plays on the bases. That stuff starts to wear thin on you. Like Nolan Gorman, the defensive stuff that I mentioned earlier. If you're not hitting 35 bombs a year, that stuff gets super frustrating really quickly. Yeah. But if you have an OPS like PCA does of 825 on the season, and you're playing some of the best defense in baseball, you can get away with some of that boneheadedness.
And you can't keep making the same mental mistakes. Like, if you keep making the same mistake of
forgetting how many outs there are.
Yeah, like if you keep doing that with the flair, then it's just annoying more than anything.
And he has. Yeah. He's made a bunch of them this season, and it's consistent. Like, he's also 3 for his last 33.
I was going to say, I heard Kaplan complaining about that last night, too.
Him and Kyle Tucker, there are some fans that are really frustrated with the Cubs outfield right now.
Yeah, I like the guys that are just like, hey, they're going to do their work. They're the Paul Goldschmidts of the world, right? They do everything consistently. They're good at everything that they do. I love the profile of Pete Crow Armstrong when it's going right. I can't stand the small mistakes. Like getting picked off at second base. That should never happen. It is the hardest pickoff play in the world, and you just got caught while the game was on the line, or in the middle of that game last night, and killed momentum. I can't stand small mistakes like that. So give me the Goldschmidts every day of the week.
I like the silent assassins, the one that just go about their business, but then go out there and are lethal. Those always seem to be fun.
I like those guys, but I want to help. The honest answer is, like, I want one of these guys, one of PCA. The rest of your roster can be built with the guys that you're talking about, and honestly probably should be, but I want a little bit of that personality. I think when your team completely lacks any flair, any personality, I think it gets really stale really quickly. And that's a good way to build a team that wins 85 games.
Yeah.
I think you need some of that in the room. Like the Blues have had this in the past, right? Their best teams have had a guy that have some kind of a jolt in them. You need to feed, especially in baseball, you feed off of energy. And when you're playing 162, it's 150 degrees outside here in St. Louis in July. Ask Sonny Gray. I think you need some of that stuff. So, and this is just a byproduct of a guy that plays and lives the way that
just don't be a goaltender and do it, because people get very angry when a goalie does it.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 731. Guys, are you going to ask John Jay about his so-called feud with the Padres? I guess specifically if you would like to believe him, Manny Machado, or are you guys going to avoid that? Really no reason to do that. A, because John Jay was on behalf of a charity, and B, I just don't know how much it matters. So that's my answer as to why I didn't ask the question. I thought about it, but no, I don't think in that setting it makes sense for us to talk about that. He's here to promote charity events. If he was here like Ollie on Friday, it's a different situation. Ollie is not here to promote something. He is not here under the guise that we're going to avoid any kind of questions. Ollie was here and he told us specifically, ask any questions that people have. And he immediately got into the Yachty stuff. So I think that's a little bit of a different spot to ask that kind of a question. So that's my answer as to why it wasn't asked, if anybody's curious. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Coming up in about 15 minutes is Jordan Walker recapturing his form. But next, Katie Woo, Cardinals insider, joins us here on BK and Ferrario.
Alex Ferrario here for Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, the real deal for real deals since 1976. You can let Dobbs' team of 600-plus tire technicians and auto service associates care for your family vehicles. Whatever vehicle you drive, locations all over town, they'll help you choose the tires that you need. They're already sold at the lowest prices, in-town guaranteed, with quality name brand tires that will definitely suit your vehicle and suit your family budget. You can check out Dobbs' Money Saver deals on new tires over at gotodobbs.com. With the most locations around, including their newest store in Osage Beach at the Lake of the Ozarks, their full-service tire and auto service has never been more convenient. Let the tire and service pros at Dobbs take care of your family vehicles, and be sure to check out Dobbs' Money Saver deals over at gotodobbs.com. Dobbs, the real deal for real deals since 1976.
With Alex and T-Bone on BK, happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline. Katie Wu's kind enough to move things around for us as John Jay had some connectivity issues. She joins us now via the Callier and Thompson hotline. Katie, of course, writes about the Cardinals over at The Athletic and joins us each and every Monday here on the show. Katie, how you doing today?
Guys, how are you? I feel like, so I don't think I've ever missed a home series before, like an entire series, and I chose to do that this weekend, post-trade deadline, kind of relax. And that was a good reminder to never do that again, because I missed not only just a compelling series, but Yadier Molina showing up, and it was a lot to be away from. So I hope Cardinals fans enjoyed what was, admittedly a very fun weekend in St. Louis that I wish I was there for. My bad.
Katie, you need to take me through this thought process, because the Cubs and Cardinals home series, and you're like, I'm going to miss that, and I'll come back for Cardinals and Rockies.
Well, it was my best friend's bachelorette party, and
okay. Well, there you go.
I felt like the decision was made for me, to be honest, guys.
I was like, you didn't tell her, like, let's move it to Monday instead because the Rockies are in town. We'll figure out that weekend another one.
Exactly.
I think Katie also just revealed that she's the problem. Turns out it's actually not me, it's Katie, because she's been around this team all year long. She leaves and they win 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. Yachty returns.
Stop being a blame deflector.
I don't know.
Oh, no, I'm definitely a problem in so many situations, so just add it to the list. It's fine.
BK is too.
All right, Katie, let's get into this. Our open today was the following. Are you ready to entertain the idea that the Cardinals are actually in the playoff race? Go ahead and let you answer that. How do you feel about it? They're 3.5 games back right now, and the Mets are imploding once again.
BK hates the team. That's just some previous knowledge that you need before you answer.
Right, obviously. I knew this was coming because that's exactly how Tanner, and when he called, how he, prefaced the radio hit. He was like, hey, Cardinals, 3.5 games back. Look, is this Cardinals team a playoff team as currently constructed? I would lean no, especially given that starting rotation. It's just too unpredictable for me to feel any kind of confidence in it collectively. Now, guys have had encouraging starts individually, but collectively, we know this. Not a lot of swing and miss, not a lot of velo, a lot of pitch to contact. That's not a successful, sustainable path, right? I am encouraged by the bullpen, and I'm sure we'll get to that. And the fact that the Cardinals, after post-trade deadline, can come out and beat the Dodgers in a series and beat the Cubs in a series and do it without Nolan Arenado, do it without Brendan Donovan, those are all reasons to believe. Now, I'm not going to go out here and say, yeah, they're a playoff team, but I am going to say as we move forward through the next 7 weeks of the season, if the Cardinals are playing competitive, interesting, meaningful baseball, isn't that what we all want? Isn't that like best case scenario given how the season went, how the trade deadline went, how the future is going to go? At the very minimum, these players who are going to be your next core of Cardinals are going to learn how to play meaningful baseball in September and, potentially into October. Though I'll stay on the September one for now. And that's invaluable, guys. I mean, you look at people like Mason Wynn, who haven't really had the opportunity to do that yet. Victor Scott, right? Nolan Gorman has seen it in little bits and pieces. Jordan Walker hasn't. So this is all super encouraging. I'm not yet on the NL Central or NL Championship Series hype train, if you will. But I do think it's exciting that they're only 3.5 games back, and you never know what can happen in the final 7 weeks. More or less, though, guys, they're just playing meaningful baseball, and that's exciting for everyone involved.
You kind of answered my next question, Katie, but how beneficial is that for the front office to evaluate these players and still get more answers if they're playing meaningful baseball down the stretch?
Definitely, because that's ultimately what you want to see out of your players, right? Like, it's one thing to see how a guy's playing in April and May, but what does quality of the bats look like down the stretch when these games matter? How is he showing up and going through each sequence? And just stuff like that you can't measure until players are actually in the situation. That's what this whole season was supposed to be about, evaluation for next year. It got a little mixed messaging in the beginning because they were trying to do two things at the same time, and to their credit, they did a nice job of that up until July. But I think when you're looking at what you can get out of 2025, it's all about exposure, it's all about experience, and all about evaluation. Oh, that was really good. All those words started with E. Go me. But I think that's it's important, right? Because how are you going to know, how do you make decisions about these players if you don't know who they are, especially when they play meaningful baseball? I'm seeing these guys kind of just relax a little bit. Maybe it's different because they're playing with relatively no pressure anymore, because when you sell at the deadline, it's kind of communicating, hey, maybe next year we'll try a little bit more and we'll be more competitive. But to see what these players and the coaching staff have been able to do to keep the camaraderie high, even after losing your top three relievers, and still play competitive baseball games, that's exciting when you look towards 2026.
Follow-up question on that. You ready for the face of the runway seasons to return? We've got Nolan Gorman, 800 OPS since early June. Jordan Walker, more than an 800 OPS since his return from the IL. Time is a flat circle. These guys are once again stepping back into the limelight, Katie.
Yeah, and I think up until the beginning of the month, you could make the argument that neither of those players, despite being named by the front office as the top two priorities this year, had really seized their opportunity. In fact, they'd been more or less a little bit disappointing in hopes of what you were hoping they'd do with consistent playing time and that runway. And this goes to the point we just talked about, the pressure is a lot lower now. This is all about finding out what's next year, and some guys are thriving with that. I think we're finally seeing a version of Jordan Walker that we hope is sustainable, where it's the hard contact, balls in the air, just being an impact bat. Nolan Gorman has done a really nice job in his playing opportunity, and he's been getting a lot of it. Now, I know third base hasn't looked great. I'm willing to cut him a little bit of slack because he hasn't played there and been asked to play there consistently in 4 years, but it does need to get better. But from an overall offensive approach from both of these players, I like what we're seeing here, and this is exactly what we should be looking at over the final 7 weeks of the season is, can they sustain it? Sometimes it takes some guys a long time to click, and that's why giving them an entire season, not just 2 months, not just the first half, but an entire season was so important for this front office and this coaching staff to actually commit to, because now we're seeing what can happen actually within a 6-month season.
Katie, I know the answer to this already, but I feel like I've convinced myself that what's best for the Cardinals is to make sure that Nolan Arenado is not back with this team because of Gorman and because of the positional logjam that this team has had for like the last 3 years. Am I living in La La Land, Katie? Is he going to be back and probably finish out this contract with the Cardinals?
Finish out the contract? I don't know. Finish out the season? My speculation leans me to say yes. I know he's down in Jupiter right now. Whatever is left at the Roger Dean complex, because they are renovating it. I keep hearing he's taking bats and reps. I'm like, where? I don't know what's going on there with all the renovations. But he is down in Florida, and I think he's going to work through about 1 more week of shoulder strengthening exercises before resuming baseball activity. So it's still going to be a while, at least a couple of weeks before we even see or entertain the idea of Arenado returning. But my gut tells me that he will at the end of the year. That, once again, stop me if you heard this before, guys, Nolan Arenado is going to be the top priority for the new front office coming into the offseason. Hopefully it goes better than the first attempt. Because when you look at what the Cardinals are going to do in 26, and you look at what ownership is going to do with payroll, and you look at just Nolan's career as well, it makes sense for everybody involved now more than ever to find a new place for him. And I mean that with all the respect for him. He's a Hall of Fame third baseman, but he wants to play competitive baseball. And the Cardinals look 2-3 years away from returning to that consistent state. And it does create a logjam. We saw it all year. I don't know, quite candidly, how Ollie Marmol has done this, where he has given the majority of at-bats to the majority of the players that he said he was going to and kept it consistent, knowing that there's going to be a complaint about the lineup every day because somebody that should be playing is not in it. I think he's done a really nice job. That gets even more complicated when Nolan comes back, as you said. So do I think he's going to finish out his contract through 2027? For all parties involved, I hope not. But do I think he's going to come back maybe around September and try to finish the season strong and boost that trade value? I could see that happening.
And Katie, follow up on that. And Katie Wu is our guest here on 101 ESPN. Find her work over at The Athletic and follow her at Katie J. Wu. How does all of this work for JJ Wetherholt as well? We're about a week away now from, really the first time that it even becomes reasonable for the Cardinals to consider calling him up, because I think it's August 15th. That's the target date to retain your rookie eligibility for 2026. If Nolan Arenado is likely to return this year, and you already have Gorman and Donovan and Sajasi and 100 others that need this playing time, do you think JJ Wetherholt will get a taste at the big league level this year, or is that something that we're going to have to wait to see until 2026?
Yeah, wow, it's almost like this roster construction is redundant. I don't think we've ever talked about that in the last 2-3 years. No, not at all. It's a great question, and here's the thing about JJ Wetherholt, who I think is one of the most exciting prospects the Cardinals have had in years. I think we generally, as media, as fans, and it's just as an industry, really overvalue prospects right now, and I think it's just the nature of the game with so much more data available, so many more ways to watch these next people, the next stars of the game, if you will. I think the best thing for JJ Wetherholt, though, I'd like to see him. And if the Cardinals were like 10 games below 500 or really spiraling, I would say, if it's not going to impact his rookie eligibility, bring him up and see what he can do. But the best thing for JJ Wetherholt is to spend as much time in the minor leagues developing as possible. And I know that's not a popular answer for fans. Trust me, I don't really love it either. But you combat that with the Cardinals and that roster jam problem, and there's no way for him to play consistently without upending somebody who you've already wanted to see consistent playing time for. There's no need to rush JJ up to the majors unless he's absolutely mashing, and he's had a really, really impressive start in AAA, don't get me wrong. But the worst thing the Cardinals can do from a position player standpoint or a pitching standpoint is to rush prospects up to see what they have. This, again, is going to be a multi-year rebuild. This isn't like 23 where they were hoping that this was just kind of a blip on the radar and they could expedite the process and be good again in 24. This is something that's going to take a lot of time for the Cardinals to get where they want to be. So rushing up your top prospects, while exciting, while it would get the fans riled up, is probably not what's best for the player long-term or the organization long-term. So I'm not sure if we'll see JJ here, and that's without the roster jam equation.
Katie, I want to go back to the bullpen comment that you had earlier on, because has it been a post-trade deadline blessing for this team to find out what they have internally for a lot of these arms that maybe at the beginning of the season we didn't know that they had or didn't believe that they had?
Hot damn, Swanson. All right.
Very true. Well, I don't think that Ollie Marmol and Dusty Blake are considering a blessing because they have one lefty reliever and 7 right-handers, all with a year or less of service time. Credit to everybody involved in that equation, whether it's the manager, the pitching coach, or the bullpen pitchers themselves, because they've done an incredible job of stepping up to roles that they weren't going to have at the start of the year and thriving with them. You're looking at JoJo Romero, who probably should be the closer, but because of the aforementioned one left-hander relief problem, he has to be saved for the best available lane, and Ollie and Dusty did a really nice job of identifying that lane and committing to it. But you have guys that have stepped up, like Riley O'Brien, like Matt Swanson, that we probably weren't thinking about as high-leverage guys. In fact, I know we weren't thinking about as high-leverage guys in the beginning of the season. And they've come up and they took advantage of their roles in lower leverage and built some trust up in their stuff. And now you're kind of really seeing them let it eat and be impactful and be effective. Kyle Leahy, he's been kind of impactful all year long, but you're certainly going to see him used even more consistently in high leverage. There are guys here that the Cardinals are excited about, and this is something that we talked about in LA. Could the next 2 or month and a half of the season give a trial run on who the next closer could be, and who, could that be Riley O'Brien? Could that be JoJo Romero? Could Kyle Leahy emerge as a starter? Cardinals need those, as we know. So this has been fun, I think, just to see players step up. It's really difficult. We're probably not talking about it enough. How difficult it is to game plan your bullpen with one lefty reliever who is also your best, high leverage guy, and find the success that Ollie Marmol and Dusty Blake have. But they've done it. That's a testament to their game planning, and that's also a testament to the players trusting their stuff, stepping up, and really taking advantage of that opportunity earlier in the season to grow and develop. And because now here they are, Cardinals bullpen should not be this good, but they are.
Katie, hope you had a great weekend. Cardinals back in action this evening against the Colorado Rockies. Things open up a little bit on their schedule now. Colorado, Miami, Tampa, Pittsburgh, Cincy, the Athletics. Some fun baseball for a team that at least finds itself, technically speaking, in the playoff race once again. All the best. We'll talk with you again next week, Katie.
You got it, guys. Talk to you later.
Absolutely. That's Katie Wu joining us here on BK and Ferrario, as she does each and every Monday here on the show. Alex, I want to talk a little bit about Jordan Walker on the other side. Katie mentioned, hey, these guys are once again the face of the runway season. They started that way. They left.
Just copy and paste last offseason's bullet points to this upcoming one.
And here we are once again with Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman. We mentioned Gorman earlier today. Is Walker recapturing his form? We'll talk about that coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Rhino Shield who are changing the look of the exterior of homes and businesses around the area. And people in the Jefferson County area, my neck of the woods, everyone knows where that pink elephant is on 141 in Gravois. Well, behind the pink elephant, there's going to be some new A1 storage units that are using Rhino Shield's work to change the look of a building that looks worn down to make it look brand new. And the benefits of using Rhino Shield is that you're getting a ceramic coating that won't chip, won't flake, won't crack or peel. It's going to prove to last. It's water resistant 100%. It deflects 90% of the UV rays. It permanently bonds with wood, brick, stucco, aluminum, vinyl, block, steel. There's even a 100-year-old church out in Illinois that's going to be using Rhino Shield's work on their steel building because of that guaranteed 25-year transferable warranty that you get with Rhino Shield's work. So if you're looking to change the exterior of your home or your business, then call Darren today. 877-25-RHINO. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. 877-25rhino.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals beat the Cubs last night 3-2 as they take 2 of 3 from the Cubs. They are back at home tonight where they start a 3-game set with the Colorado Rockies. 6:45 will be first pitch. Miles Michaelis will be on the mound for St. Louis. And the AP preseason top 25 is out for college football. Texas comes in at number 1, Penn State 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson and Georgia round out the top 5. And Illinois is ranked number 12, first time they've made the AP preseason poll top 25 since 2008. The Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
As that ball blasted by Walker, deep left. Jordan Walker has extended the lead. That one's been, Brad, a long time coming.
That is what it sounded like over the weekend. Friday night, Jordan Walker with a big game for himself. He ends up with a 3-for-4 night, including that home run, which was an absolute rocket right off of the bat. That audio courtesy of FanDuel Sports Midwest. Alex, he's now 23 for his last 69. In other words, super easy math. He's batting .333 in his last 19 games. That's over basically 70 at-bats. OPS is above 840. Don't look at the underlying metrics. They don't matter right now. You're watching it with your eyes. It looks better, right? The underlying metrics suggest none of this is real. But again, don't worry about any of that.
If Dom was writing an article, he'd tell you this is all fake.
100%. He would look at it and say the expected batting average in this stretch is .233. The expected slugging percentage is .385. And
don't read it.
Alex, you mentioned xWOBA. The xWOBA, you mentioned that with Ollie last week.
I was going to say, did I?
The xWOBA is about 100 points lower than his actual WOBA. In other words, the quality of the contact maybe suggests that this is a mirage.
Took a turn.
But when I watch him, Alex, it doesn't feel that way. When I watch him, I'm like, okay, he's laying off that low and away slider more. His swing path seems to be better. He does seem to be doing damage with more regularity. He has 6 doubles in his last 19 games. That's a really good sign by him. I don't know, man. When I watch it right now, I'm like, that's the version of Jordan Walker that I've been waiting on. I'd like to see more home run pop in there, sure, but we finally saw it on Friday. What are you seeing from Walker right now that stands out to you?
I mean, look, he's not playing right now like the superstar we all thought he was going to be, but I think everyone has kind of come to terms with the fact that Jordan Walker's not going to be that. But he's an effective player, and that's the part that he has not been over the last 2 years. It's essentially been every time Jordan Walker steps to the plate, I kind of guarantee an out, whether it's a strikeout or a line out or a ground out. Like, that's what's going to happen with Jordan Walker. Now, there's a lot more intrigue when he steps to the plate. Like that Cubs game, that first one where he went 3-for-4, I was locked into Jordan Walker at bats, and that's what seems to have shifted for me. And I don't know if it's just because of where the Cardinals are at or if it's the anticipation of maybe there's something that's happening, but he's a guy that has the threat now when he steps to the plate. When you're not swinging at that pitch that typically gets him to strike out, when he's not going up there and he's not having effective or competitive at-bats, it just feels like a loss for the Cardinals. Now it actually feels like, hey, we might have something here who's an everyday outfielder for us. I go back to the comment that Ollie had on Friday about Alec Burleson, to where he has worked his ass off to get to the point where they view him as he can't come out of the lineup. I don't think Walker's there yet. I think the runway is the reason why he can't come out of the lineup. But by the end of the season, if this continues, I might have a different opinion on Jordan Walker because of the confidence and because of the changes he has made at the plate.
Yeah, to me, the biggest thing is he looks like he believes everything you just said. I think in the past there have been times where maybe he implements a change for a little while, he sees it not work in a game, and he's like, he kind of reverts back to what previously was working for him in the minors, right? And I don't know if everybody would agree with this statement, but I think we can come to terms with the fact that, hey, his minor league swing didn't work up here. It didn't. For whatever reason, and pitchers figured it out. There were too many holes in it, and whether you think that's because of the launch angle or if you think that's because of like the swing path didn't stay in the zone along, whatever the reason is, it wasn't working. And so he had to make adjustments. They were necessary for him to stick at this level and to become a regular in the big leagues. And they have finally seemingly found some adjustments that he's comfortable with, that they think will help him as well. He went down to Double-A, got an extended runway down there to see if it would work at the Double-A level. by the back end of that rehab stint, you started to see more of the results for him. And now, whatever the underlying numbers say, that doesn't matter to Jordan Walker. What Walker sees right now, they should not be showing him any of the information I just mentioned. All you need to see, Walker, you're hitting 333 in your last 19 games. That matters to a guy that desperately needs something to latch on to, man. Imagine being in his spot, right? Think about what the last few years have been like for us watching all of this. Now imagine being the player that's going through it. You get up here, you have that big hitting streak, and then you're sent down. That had to suck. Maybe there were reasons why. Maybe you hated it, whatever the reason. But if you're Jordan Walker, that had to suck. You go down to down to AAA, you come back up, have success the rest of the way. All right, I figured it out. Hit 275 my first year. I was an above average player. My defense stinks, but I'm going to get that fixed in the offseason. In the offseason, he gets it fixed. He comes back the following seasons. Boys, defense looked good. And the bat stinks. And it has not been fixed ever since. And so over the last couple of years, I have to imagine this has been a miserable experience. The tweaking of his swing, the lack of success that he's seen at the major league level, all of these up and down, injuries, whatever. So for him finally over a 1 month stretch to look like the player that he believed himself to be, that we were all sold on, that has to be awesome. It has to feel like $1 million. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just reinforcements that are positive. Getting feedback in play of this works. What I'm doing is working. That, to me, is the biggest thing for Walker. He just needed some kind of positive reinforcements, and he's getting those right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. He needed something to latch on to, and I think the other thing, too, that he can latch on to is I feel like at times, like we've brought it up, earlier this year he had not this big a sample size. I would say this is 20 games now. I think he had about a 10, 15 game sample size early on in the year where you're like, okay, maybe he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to put together more of those standard numbers. And I don't remember what the underlying numbers said at that point either. But then he went back to himself. But he was, even in that hot stretch, the thing that was still the same was he still wasn't laying off the slider low and away or the changeup low and away from left-handers. And now that he is starting to do it, that has been the number one thing that I have seen. The stance looks different, but he's not going after the slider low and away. They tried to get him to go after it a couple times last night, and he didn't fall for it. Now he's falling more victim to stuff that's just middle low in the zone, but at least he's laying off the stuff that's low and away like those sliders. The fact that now he is starting to kind of piece together of, okay, if I do avoid that pitch, I can now do damage on any mistakes that are put in the zone, or they try to go fastball. I can look for the fastball now and do damage on it. So that is the other thing that is the positive reinforcement for him, is he's laying off that pitch low and away, and it's leading to results, which is what the Cardinals have been trying to preach him and trying to train him on. Hey, anything that's low and away, that thing hits the strike zone, who cares? You know what? Tip your cap, that guy put that pitch where he was supposed to. Now he's laying that off of that pitch, and he's trying to do damage on anything that's in the middle of the zone, middle of the plate.
That's what I want in him. Like that was the answers that I wanted this season. If you were showing the ability to pick and choose which pitches you can do damage on and actually follow through on it, if you're the Cardinals, man, that's a success. You mentioned it, BK, like he went into the offseason this past year and improved on his defense, and then the offense still struggled. I know you can fix something in the offseason as long as you see the results and you know the answers to what you need to fix. This to me is growth. I saw a couple of people in the YouTube chat saying we're really doing this again. It's like it's been a month, guys. Let's check back in another month and figure it out. I understand it's only been a month, but this is significant improvement from Jordan Walker that I've seen for a month stretch. That hasn't happened since his first season with the team.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Like, yes, of course we're doing it again. It's Jordan Walker.
And we're going to keep doing it.
He's the guy we do this with. That's it. He is the number one guy that we are going to be doing this with for a while. And the reason why is because this was the face of whatever it is that the Cardinals are trying to accomplish right now. He is still the one, and Ollie mentioned this yesterday in his post-game press conference, where he's like, the ceiling is still really high here. In an ideal world, is the ceiling what it was once expected to be? Maybe not. Maybe he's not going to be that kind of a power hitter. But, guys, I don't know how you felt after you saw that home run on Friday. That's why I still have hope. Yeah. That swing, that whatever, the moonshot. I mean, it was effortless. It was like when you first see a guy that comes up and throws 100 and he's just barely throwing. You're like, whoa, what? There's no effort involved with this. That's Walker when the swing looks right. The problem is far too often over the last couple of years, the swing doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. And you can see he gets into his own head. The approach is not there. The swing decisions are not there. And I think what gives me a little bit of hope on Walker is not even so much anything with him, so much as it is I've seen them figure this out with Alec Burleson, the swing decision stuff. Because Burleson looked lost early on in his tenure with the Cardinals as well. Now, it was a shorter length between him struggling and him figuring it out. He was also, at the time that he was called up the first time, the age that Walker is now. So I think sometimes we have to remember, this dude's 23 years old. He is still an incredibly young big leaguer. So, yeah, to answer the question from the text line, we're doing this again. Yes, we are, and we will continue to do so because that's what Jordan Walker represents. They are lacking a player with this kind of a skill set, and they don't really have another option from the right side that can replicate what he brings to the table. It's him, and it's Vaughn Herrera, and that's the end of the list.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me, and a lot of people want him to get to that. You mentioned the potential that Ali Marmola mentioned, that the ceiling is still high on a player like Jordan Walker. This year was not about getting him towards that ceiling. This year was about stabilizing. And now I would prefer that be over the full 162 you stabilize, but he had his struggles. They've worked with him. If he can stabilize this thing for the final 2 months, it gives you hope for him to potentially, okay, we went from about league average here in the final 2 months. Okay, let's try and get to 10% above league average the following year. That's how you get a guy like this, because as John Jay said with us earlier, it's very rare that you see the Bobby Wood Juniors that get to the big leagues and in year 2 it just all clicks and they're a superstar right away. Some guys it takes 3 to 4 years to get there, and that's what their hope is with Jordan Walker.
And he would be an outlier if he gets there.
Yeah.
This is like, there are very few examples of a player being as bad as Walker has been thus far, turning into a good player. Very few examples. It's hard to find. There are some, but it's rare. So that is absolutely worth mentioning, and I understand the skepticism for any of you. I would personally not bet on Walker reaching those heights that we were talking about. I don't know what Walker's future holds, but it's hard to see it right now. I understand all of that, but I mean, if we're going to go through this kind of a season and he's going to continue to get these opportunities as he should, that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, because of the lack of depth that you have in your system in terms of hopeful pieces that could actually change the outlook of this team, like you mentioned, that's why I'm going to continue to live on hope with him, because you have nothing else. If that doesn't work, you're in for an uphill battle from a front office / ownership group that's not willing to spend money on that type of player.
Can I ask you one quick question as a follow-up here on the outfield? What's up with Victor Scott II? Only started one game this weekend. The swings have been rough. I remember, was it Thursday, the game where he had just a bad at-bat to the point that Ricky Horton on the radio call said that was just a miserable at-bat by Victor Scott II. You don't hear Rick Horton talk like that about players almost ever. So you know it was bad when he's mentioning that. What are you guys seeing with Vic? What do you make of him getting some time off here?
I mean, I think with the time off is just there's still plenty of growth for Victor Scott. This was the first real full season of Victor Scott at the big leagues. There are other guys that need consistent playing time that they need answers on, which is why now the Garrett Hampton one, I don't really know why he's out there, but
we're trying to figure out what he is.
Sure. Yeah. Lars Nootbaar in center field. Like, you need Burleson out there. Jordan Walker is everyday player. And whether it's Lars Nootbaar, I think that's the direction they're going to go, rather than do we need to see more of Victor Scott. I think there's just areas that they say, hey, he's struggling. We'll work on this throughout the rest of the season. He doesn't need everyday playing time like these other guys do.
Yeah, I think they're using this as the opportunity to do what they did with Walker early on in the year, which is, hey, we're gonna get you a couple starts, but for the most part, we want most of the work being done behind the scenes, and that work's coming with his bat, because his bat has really fallen off of a cliff here. I think that's what's going on here, and that also coincides with, hey, we also are trying to get some more plate appearances for Nootbaar. How do we do that? We put him in center field. I think this is just hey, we're trying to get work done behind the scenes with Victor Scott.
How many times do you think Vic has had multiple days off in a row in which both of those days were not against lefties? So, like, at least one of those 2 days.
That's a specific criteria.
It's not. He got 2 days off in a row, and one of those days was against a right-handed pitcher. That's it.
I'll say once this year. It can't have happened that often.
I'll say 0.
This was the first time that's happened all year. There's something here. Like, this is... it's a pretty clear decision. And when one of those starts is happening by Garrett Hampson, I'm not willing to talk about that as like a runway situation. He's been off 3 of the last 5 games now. He has not started 3 of the last 5 games. It seems as though he is the one right now that's getting the roster crunch. There's always somebody that ends up on the outside looking in, and it feels like right now he is that player currently. That's been kind of crunched out of the lineup. So JC is getting some more playing time lately. You're seeing Donovan get in there every day. Burleson's in there every day. Herrera is in there every day. Nootbaar's getting a lot of playing time when it's not against a left-handed pitcher. I think that you're going to potentially see more and more Lars Nootbaar getting those opportunities in center field to open up the corners for these other guys that they really want to see down the stretch. I think Gorman getting these opportunities, plus Walker, Herrera, Burleson, that makes it tough. If you're going to get all of those guys into the lineup on a day-to-day basis, it makes it really tough to be able to get consistent at-bats for Victor Scott. So that is something that I'll be monitoring down the stretch to see, is Scott the one that now takes a step back the way that Gorman had previously, or JC had, or Walker had? We've seen a bunch of different guys kind of fit into this role. Maybe it's Victor Scott II's turn to do that. We'll see what that ends up
Are you going to be
like.
upset if he's cut of at-bats?
If it's for Hampson, yes.
Okay, that one's fair. That one's fair.
That one I don't understand.
I'd agree with that. If you're doing more Nootbaar in center, like I don't have that big a problem with it, just because it's clear Scott's bat's not there yet.
If Nootbaar and Herrera are the ones in the outfield and Scott's not, I'm fine with it.
So here's the I don't really know where I come out on this. It's a terrible take for radio. It is. But my honest to God opinion is, like, I get it. I understand how you get yourself there. But I almost wish that they would just do a situation where every day there's somebody new that gets a day off. So instead of it landing on like this time it's Alec Burleson that's out of the lineup with regularity. This time it's Nolan Gorman with that is on the outside looking on. This time it's Ivan, whoever, right? There's always seemingly one guy that kind of gets on the outside looking in. I wish they could just say, hey, today is Victor Scott's day off. Tomorrow is Thomas JC's day off. The next day it's Nolan Gorman, and then Walker, and then Wynn gets a day off here or there, and then Newt, and then Burleson, and then Herrera. And as you do that over an 8-day stretch, all of them are getting like 8 out of the 9 days where they're getting an opportunity to play. So I would prefer it to go that direction than Victor Scott seemingly 2 out of every 3 days not being in the lineup. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Kind of just like a rotating door of which guy is off,
exactly,
which
because
guy's
it's
not.
basically one guy that ends up on the outside looking in while Arenado's out.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind the way that they've been going about it because it's result based, right?
Sure.
Because why was Gorman the guy that wasn't in the lineup at the very beginning of the season? He hadn't earned it.
Performing.
He wasn't playing well. Why is Victor Scott not on the lineup right now? He's not hitting. And no, he's still got a role. He's been their late defensive guy that comes in when they're winning. So like he still has a role in the team.
And he's been so bad lately, man.
Yeah, he's not even good at bunting anymore. Like that's how bad it's gone offensively.
Yeah, really the last 3 weeks has just been quite miserable offensively for Victor Scott II. And there are times where he looks non-competitive at the plate. I mentioned earlier Gorman and his defense. It's the same way right now for Victor Scott II and his offense. So he needs to get better. He needs to improve early on this season. We saw a lot of that. Hopefully we'll see more of it as we go. In his last 17 games, 53 plate appearances, he's batting a 133 with an OPS of 420.
Ooh.
It's not
that doesn't deserve to be in.
Coming up next, time for the junk drawer here on BK and Ferrario. All right, let's dive into the junk drawer. Alex, what do you got for us today?
Angry Ferrario is back, boys. I had a moment over the weekend. So I don't go to the movies anymore. Like, I just don't do it. Last night I went because there was a movie, this Weapons, that's out.
I've heard good things. You like it?
It was really creative. The execution, I don't think, was where it needed to be. Okay. But the creativity of the script, I enjoyed. I don't go. And I'm like, I want to go. And then when I'm in the movie theater, I had the reason why. Now, I'll preface what I'm about to say. I understand that people have, like, therapy dogs and things like that. Like, they bring them with them in certain... I don't think this was the instance. We're sitting in the movie theater. It's me and my dad and my mom and nobody else. 9:10 show or something like that. We're sitting and the movie starts. And this lady walks in with her poodle. And this poodle had to have been, I think it was like a Labradoodle. It had to have been like 55 pounds.
Okay.
And she was carrying it. And so she goes and sits, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine. When somebody sits behind you and there's plenty of seats available, she sits right behind us. The entire time, this lady was talking to her dog.
Oh.
She was talking through the movie to her dog. The dog was barking probably about a third of the movie, and she got up to take the dog to go potty 3 times through, like, you know, that side exit that you can't get back in through. She goes out and she puts something in the door to allow her to get back in. And the whole time, my mom's like, I'm going to go say something. I'm going to go say something. And my dad and I are like, no, let's just get through the movie. It's fine.
You have to say something. I know, I'm the last person that would say something in any scenario. I will eat the food that you give me that I did not order.
My God.
If you forgot something that I was supposed to get this weekend, went to a place, they didn't give me the drink that I had ordered, I'm fine. I'll figure it out. It's a couple of bucks. It's all good. You have to say something in that scenario.
The whole time I'm thinking, like, what is going on in your head to where you thought this was a good idea? Like, you thought, I'm going to bring my dog to the movie. And again, I can understand
that was it. They just said that. Yeah. And they thought nothing more of it. They did not put any thought into how this will affect others.
This is why I hate going out in public. Because nobody cares about other people's lives. They just care about their own. And again, I understand it. If it was this was not a therapy dog situation. This lady was bringing a companion.
Even if it was... Listen, I get it.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do to get through the day.
But if you're going to disrupt other people, you can't do it.
Exactly. Like in this scenario, if you're going to have your dog with you and your dog is barking throughout the movie, you have to have enough courtesy for others that are trying to watch that movie that, you know, hey, this isn't working out for it. If I've got a 2-year-old, I'm trying to go see a movie. Like if I'm bringing Luca, right? Yeah. We're going to go see a movie, and I don't know why we do this, but we're going to see like some kind of an action movie, not specifically for kids, right?
Yeah.
If he is having a fit throughout the movie, we've got to go.
Yeah.
We've got to go because that's not just affecting us, it's affecting others. So the same thing has to be true here.
She was talking to the dog, like no joke. So one of the scenes happened, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but
please don't.
One of the scenes happened, and she turned to her and she goes, oh, I forget what she called the dog. I don't even remember what the dog's name was because I was so furious. But she turned and she goes, oh, can you believe that happened? I'm like, what are you doing?
No, the dog can't believe it.
I said, no, I can't.
And the dog, somebody said you should have went out and like kicked the rock out from the door so she couldn't back in. I mean, I didn't even think of that, but I probably should have. Yeah. But that was one of those moments that I turned to my parents afterwards and I go, this right here is why I don't go out in public.
I'm actually surprised you didn't say something.
And I think in deep down, I was worried that like if it was a therapy dog, it would have looked bad or something. But I don't know, man. Like, I probably,
not in that scenario.
I probably should have, but I was just like, whatever. It's like it was happening in like spurts. So it would be quiet for 30 minutes and then it would pick back up again. And it's like, whatever, I'll just focus on the film. But yeah, it got frustrating after a while.
I think there's certain scenarios where if you're on a plane and you've got a kid, you've got a dog, man, we're all on this together. Like for the next 2, 3, 4, however many hours, we're just going to get through this.
Yeah.
This is a very different situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to see a movie. We all acknowledge, I've got a 2-year-old. If I'm going to see a movie that's not for Luca, I'm not going to bring him to the movie because that's not a scenario that's going to work for him. He does not sit for 2 hours in a row. If you have a dog that is prone to barking, I do, I'm not going to bring the dog to the movie theater. Wait until the movie comes to your home. I can see it on Prime Video or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be out in like a month. You can see it then.
And then purchase it from the comfort of your home.
I did make a couple of passive-aggressive marks, but I don't think that got the job. Well, it obviously didn't get the job done because it maintained the whole time, but...
From the 636, nice of BK to consider taking his kid to a movie instead of the bar.
That's true. Well, you can't get beer at the movie theaters, though, so it's kind of like the same thing.
I am taking Luca to the breweries this upcoming weekend as we go out to Denver. I'm going to Denver starting on Thursday and Friday this week.
Yep.
So we're going to go. You're a South Park guy, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to Casa Bonita.
Oh, you're doing Casa Bonita?
Yeah, we're going to Casa Bonita.
I want to go to Casa Bonita.
The restaurant that the
Casa Bonita.
South Park guys own out in Denver.
Oh,
so
God,
we're doing
that's
that with
gonna be
him. They've
fun.
got the cliff divers, magic shows, all different kinds of stuff.
Yeah, movies, by the way, still super expensive.
Yeah, dude.
Got through and I'm like, that was not worth my money.
He's Alex, this is T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, is it worthwhile for the Cardinals to get JJ Wetherholt some opportunities? One local columnist says absolutely not. We'll let you hear it next year on 101 ESPN. from the AAA affiliate that I think are worthwhile to get into. First of all, Quinn Matthews has been named the International League Pitcher of the Week, boys. Matthews had his, quote, best start of the season, tossing 7 shutout innings, allowing 4 base runners with a season-high 9 strikeouts against Durham on August 7th. It is his 2nd weekly honor of the season and the 5th of his career. So congratulations to Quinn Matthews. If he can rack up a couple of more of those the rest of the season, maybe you do start to see him enter his way back into the mix heading into 2026. So good start last week for Quinn Matthews. It has been paid off by an International League Pitcher of the Week award. On the other side of things is JJ Wetherholt, who did not have as good of a week. Going up against Durham last week, he finished 2 for 17 with 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. That's a 118 batting average, a 403 OPS. Had 1 RBI, 2 hits in the 5 games that he played against the Durham Bulls. Alex, is not overly concerning. It's a 5-game sample size. He had been amazing prior to that, and then he gets through a rough stretch of it here. But this gets us into the conversation that is taking place right now among a lot of fans. When is it right for the Cardinals to call up JJ Wetherholt? I believe the date is August 15th, or if he's called up at that point or later, based upon the number of days that he's in the big leagues, he would retain his rookie status for 2026. It's a big deal for guys like Wetherholt because he could potentially be in the running for Rookie of the Year next year, which nets the Cardinals a potential draft pick. I read this earlier today from Len Worthy, and I wanted to get your thoughts about it. This comes from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch website. Fast-tracking Wetherholt to the big leagues for the end of this season would not be strategic or forward-thinking. It would instead be short-sighted, ill-conceived, and a flailing move aimed at more public morale than baseball development. It doesn't make all that much sense to add Wetherholts to the Major League roster and a 40-man roster at this moment. There's no urgency to do so. All it would do is take away a bit of roster flexibility that the new front office regime headed by Chaim Bloom might be able to use this offseason. So for what reason? To get Wetherholt a small handful of at-bats over someone else at their expense? Why? To what end? While it's easy to understand the fans' fervor to get a peek at the future, it just doesn't serve a purpose for Wetherholt or for the club right now. Again, that's all from Len Worthy's piece on why he does not believe now is the time to call up JJ Wetherholt, and while he doesn't think that that'll be the case even when we get to September. Alex, how do you view this? JJ Wetherholt, his immediate and relatively near future with the Cardinals, is it worthwhile to get him some opportunities?
I think it's worthwhile. Now, I wouldn't be fast-tracking this saying like August 15th, get him up here. I think I'm talking like end of the season, September, you're out of it, and you want to see a couple of games for him to just get a taste of the Major League pitching. I don't see how that's short-sighted for the Cardinals because ask yourself this question, is J.J. Wetherholt going to be a part of this Major League club next year? And if the answer is yes, then why wouldn't you want to get him some reps at the Major League level just to see what it looks like, just so you could go into the offseason with a little bit of a heads up, this is what you need to work on, this is what you need to prepare for. I mean, we talked with Mason Wynn, who said that first season where he got 37 games did wonders for him going into that offseason. I do agree with the sense of, look, man, you already don't have playing positions for J.J. Wetherholt. You don't have at-bats for him at the Major League level. How do you expect to find him when Nolan Arenado is back, barring some type of injury? So I'm not even thinking about it until we get to September. And then when we're into September, depending on where the team's at, depending on how the roster looks, I'd listen to it if there's an opportunity to get him some at-bats, but I'm not sitting here acting as if this guy needs a month and a half at the Major League level. That one I don't think makes any sense.
Yeah, I typically side on the side of, hey, yeah, if you've got a top prospect that's tearing the cover off the ball in AAA, he would really benefit from getting that final month or month and a half in Mason Wynn's case, because it just gets him an idea of, hey, this is what big league pitching looks like. It is way different than AAA pitching. Here's what you need to do when we get to the offseason. Here's what adjustments you need to make. And I think Mason Wynn really benefited from having that experience. Here's where I think it just gets to, and this is where I agree with Len Worthy. I just don't think you can do it, because when Mason Wynn got called up on August 18th of 2023, there were 40 games left in the season. They played him in 37 of the final 40 games that year. I don't think you're going to be able to do that for the Cardinals if that's the number that we're talking about. Like the final 40 games, they have too many pieces right now that they're still trying to evaluate, to where if you're not getting him 37 out of 40 games when he's here, I don't think it's worth them calling him up, because he's just going to get caught in this logjam that they have, and he's going to be doing the carousel that we were talking about of, hey, maybe he plays like 3 out of every 5 games. No, just stay in AAA if that's the point, and just continue to have him work on things down at the AAA level going into 2026.
So here, my thing on this is twofold. One, I think it all depends on Nolan Arenado. If Arenado is back and healthy and he's playing with regularity, you can't call up JJ Wetherholt. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't have a spot. Where are you playing him? Because Arenado just goes back into the spot that he was previously. Now you're barely figuring out ways to get either JC or Gorman into the mix. It just gets really clogged really quickly. And then 2, I do think some of this is about where the Cardinals are at in the standings. I know we've almost like completely lost sight of this. It's certainly for me. I mentioned at the beginning of the show today, I'm not putting a whole lot of credence into the fact that they're only 3.5 games back. But, I mean, we're 2.5 weeks away from the end of the month where we could realistically talk about this. I do think September is probably more realistic than any time over the next week or two. But at that point, you will have played 3 games against the Cincinnati Reds head-to-head. If you beat them in 2 out of 3, or, I mean, possibly sweep them, you could find yourself ahead of the Reds in the standings. You also have between now and then a 3-game set against Colorado, a 3-game set against the Miami Marlins, a 3-game set against a not very good team in Tampa Bay, and a 4-game series at home against Pittsburgh. This team could be in the mix for the playoffs by the time we get to September 1st. And in that scenario, no, I'm probably not calling JJ Wetherholt up, because it is not about finding out what he can do, because there's no real urgency necessarily to do that. It will be about, hey, how do your players that you've been building around for the entirety of the 2025 season react to a pressure situation? That's what we saw with the Blues. They got into a pressurized situation at the end of the season. It's like, I'm perfect. I get to find out what Jake Neighbors looks like here. I get to find out what Jimmy Snuggerud looks like down the stretch to see, hey, how do you respond to this? I get to find out what you hoped at the time Dylan Holloway or Philip Broberg look like in these situations. I want to see that with Walker. I want to see that with Gorman. I want to see that with Ivan Herrera. These guys that have not really been in pressurized situations. Let's see what it looks like, dude. So, yeah, I think a lot of this is determined by factors that are completely outside of what JJ Wetherholt can control. Is Arenado back? And where are you at in the standings? Those are going to be my guiding forces. And then, how does JJ Wetherholt respond to his first bad week at AAA? He's been really good for almost the entire time that he's down there. Mason Wynn, in the month prior to being called up, 25 games, hit .367 with an OPS of 1,200.
Wow.
He was unbelievable at AAA before getting that call up to the big league level. Let's see more of that from JJ Wetherholt. Not that I'm worried about it at all, but, you know, had a bad week, respond. So that would be the way that I'm viewing it right now. I don't think this is a situation where we're going to be like calling for it. That year with Mason Wynn, we're like, what are you doing? It is time. Go ahead and call him up. You're playing like Taylor Motter at shortstop. You have no alternatives. Let's go. Let's get this going. I don't feel the same way this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it's as obvious as it was in 2023. And even the Cardinals have kind of said it, or people around the Cardinals said, like, you look at the roster and it was, man, these are a whole bunch of guys that have no future for the team. Like right now, a lot of guys on this roster have a future for the team. I just don't know who you're picking from just yet. And I don't want to add in another guy that's going to be brought in. And I really don't want to bring him in and put him in a pressurized situation. Like, come be our savior. Come be the guy that gets called up and helps us get to October. I don't want to put JJ Wetherholt in that situation either. So if you are still in the race, I really don't think you make this kind of a call up for JJ.
He's T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. We'll get to in or out of the other side. But first, I do want to pass along this news. This comes from Rams camp, where T-Bone is freaking out. Sean McVay says quarterbacks Matt Stafford did not end up practicing as expected today because he, quote, didn't feel good enough coming into today, end quote. The Rams opted for a cautious approach. McVay says that Stafford wanted to be out there more than anybody.
I saw a quote that said our best rehab method for Matthew Stafford from McVay is the Austin Powers cryogenic chamber.
Did you see what they brought?
Did they bring the cryogenic?
Basically, yeah.
I know you haven't seen Austin Powers, but they just froze him for about 30 years so that they could bring him back to save the world.
He was in something called an immortal chamber. It advertises itself as a wellness device that aims to optimize human performance and promote holistic health through a combination of non-invasive technology.
So it's kind of like a darkness retreat.
We got him right where we want him in his recovery.
He said we hope he's ready for week 1. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm officially starting to get worried about this. This is around the time where if you've got veterans and they're not practicing this week, maybe you can get away with it. If they're not practicing by next week, freakout mode has officially emerged.
Yeah, I'm really worried because this is the first time where this screams setback, because he was throwing on Friday of last week away from the team while they were playing their preseason game. He was throwing, and then all of a sudden Monday he rolls around and, oh, by the way, he's not able to go, and we're like freezing him for a couple of days. Yeah. Hey, well, at least we got Jimmy G. Yeah, Jimmy G. He's going to guide the Rams to glory.
And then who's your third one?
Oh, Stenson Bennett, the guy that won a natty with the Georgia Bulldogs.
In or out, coming up next. Hey, it's BK. It is time for you to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. Check them out today online at victorymenshealth.com. When you get over there, it's a super easy process to book that first appointment. Put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. That means different things for different people. For you, maybe it's weight loss goals that you're trying to meet. Maybe it's low testosterone symptoms that are starting to set in. Are you feeling like you don't have the same energy that you once did? Maybe you're not getting the same results out of your workouts. Those could be due to low testosterone. They can check levels for you over at Victory Men's Health. Erectile dysfunction issues, they can help you out with that as well. It's all available for you at victorymenshealth.com. They have 4 great locations across the St. Louis area: O'Fallon, Missouri; O'Fallon, Illinois; Sunset Hills; and the personal location for me over in Town and Country. Check them out today online at victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We'll tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. Just saw this. Bill Simmons put out his NFL quarterback pyramid for the Ringer preseason 2025 edition. At the top of the pyramid, he has Josh Allen. And then in the second tier, it's Mahomes, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. I think those are the top four. You can have them in just about any order. And I'd be like, I get it. That's fine. He has Allen at the top of it, though. The number one guy in the NFL right now. I would say that is controversial at best, questionable at worst. And I did want to ask you this question, though, Alex, and this is my in or out for today. In or out, if Josh Allen wins the Super Bowl this year, he will be unanimously viewed as the top quarterback in the NFL currently.
I say in. I think the reason he's not there is because he hasn't gotten that done yet. But the way that he plays, I feel like people view him already as a unicorn. And if you add a Super Bowl onto that, yeah, I think there'd be a lot of people that say Patrick Mahomes is goated, incredible. But Patrick Mahomes can't play the same way that Josh Allen plays, and that's where I think people would go to with Josh.
This feels very Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady-ish right now from their early careers. Peyton could not get over the hump. It was clear to some that, like, hey, Peyton's playing better than Brady, but he can't beat him in the playoffs. And so a lot of people said, all right, well, Brady's the GOAT. Brady's the better quarterback of the two. But some, especially hipsters, be like, no.
Hipsters?
Peyton Manning's the guy. I was one of those hipsters, so I have to be honest with you. I was always a Peyton guy. I'm taking the reverse side of things here because it's my guy. The difference is Mahomes had the first season that Brady never did. Brady didn't have that year until 2007. So I would still take Mahomes as my number one quarterback. But over the last two seasons, Josh Allen has played better than Mahomes. I think that's objectively true. And if he then has the success in the playoffs this year, where he not only gets to the Super Bowl but wins it, I will understand anybody at that point in time. Because the one thing you could really say right now to knock him is, yeah, but Mahomes still gets him in the playoffs. If Allen is able to overcome that this year, I would say I'm in on this. I think he would be viewed by most people as the number one quarterback in the NFL. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would say that.
Yeah, see, I would lean towards out. I still think Mahomes will be number one. And I think it's the Super Bowls that will still do it. Even if Allen gets one, Mahomes has got multiple, and he's been there multiple times. For Allen, it would be once. And to me, you got to do it multiple times if you're going to take down Mahomes. And though I do agree Allen has been better over the last couple of years than Mahomes, I still think Mahomes hasn't had as good of weapons. Now, last year was the first year where I really felt like, okay, Josh, that was impressive as hell because you traded Stephon Diggs in the offseason. You were able to put this together for a team that I thought was 10 wins at best. But I would still lean towards Mahomes, and it just comes down to the championship pedigree.
All right, in or out, guys, a superstar-level bat from the National League will be traded away this upcoming offseason.
There's a lot of work that I would have to do on the legwork for a question like that.
My train of thinking on this is Braves missing the playoffs, Padres potentially missing, Mets potentially missing, and Cubs underperforming down the stretch.
I don't know who the Cubs would trade. Their superstar bat that'll be on the move potentially is Kyle Tucker.
But he's free agent.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say out because I don't really have a bat in mind that would fit that criteria. That's likely to be traded. I mean, you could see Schwarber change teams. He's a free agent. You could see Tucker change teams. He's a free agent as well. I just don't know where that trade's coming from. So I'll say out.
Yeah, I'm going to say out as well because I think the number one team that a lot of people hone in on is the Braves. And based on everything that the Braves are saying, to me, they are a team that's screaming what the 2023 Cardinals were, which is, hey, it's a blip on the radar. All 5 of our starters from one India got hurt. We still believe in our core. We're not going to do anything drastic to them. And if it's not them, then I don't know who it would be, so I'm out.
John Scores over on the YouTube chat says, Suzuki, if you consider him to be a superstar bat, I could see him fitting into this criteria. I do not. I wouldn't have him in that picture. But, yeah, he would definitely, if you consider him to be that, be somebody I could see moving.
Yeah, I'm out on this one as well. You looked at those teams, and I just don't see the two that I had in mind were the Braves or the Padres, and I don't think either of those teams are going to trade a bat away.
Yeah, I don't think the Padres are missing the playoffs. I'd be really surprised by that. And with the Braves, I think T-Bone, I view them similarly in that I think they're going to view it as a one-off.
Yeah.
And they're going to try to bring this thing back next year. I also think they lack superstar bats at this point.
The Braves?
Yeah.
Yeah, Olsen's not been the same guy. Riley's not been the same guy. They all had one really good year that was fun. Outside of that, they've all kind of regressed back to like 20%.
It's Ronald Acuna Jr.
He can't stay healthy.
And I don't think they're trading him.
Oh, yeah,
this would
too.
be the absolute worst time possible to trade him. T-Bone?
Guys, in or out, Jordan Walker in these final 2 months is going to earn himself the starting right field job going into 2026.
I'm going to say in. I think they're going to be optimistic about his future and see him, if he stays this level of consistency down the stretch, I don't think they're going to unseat him for anybody else.
I'll say in. I don't know what they're going to do this offseason. I really don't. The more I think about it, the more I wonder if Donnie is the one that they end up trading. But if they were going to do that, I still go back to, like, when the deadline have been the time to maybe really consider that. I don't know. I think Burleson is starting for them next year. I think Herrera is starting for them next year. My hesitance here is I don't know where that will happen. I don't know if there's a DH spot and an outfield spot for them, and then you are able to get Jordan Walker into right field. Do they consider Donovan maybe bumping back to the outfield next year? Is that under consideration? So I'll say in, but my level of confidence is low.
I would lean towards in as well. I think he's going to show signs of stabilizing here in the final 2 months. I don't think he's going to keep up an 800 OPS, what he's been at, but if he's like 770, I think the Cardinals can convince themselves, hey, we're in a rebuild. Why not? This guy, as they've said, has a high ceiling. We've got to continue to try this and see if it will finally come true. So I will say in.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. We'll get to a few of these. In or out from the 314, the Cardinals finish over 500 this year.
Oh, man.
I'll say in. They finish like a game above it, 2 games above it. I think the rest of August allows them to maybe add a little bit of wiggle room before September.
I was about to say September, they finish, it's tough. Yeah. Seattle, Milwaukee twice, Cincy, at San Fran, at Chicago. Cubs, not the White Sox.
I'm going to say out. I think they'll miss it by just a couple games. I don't think it'll be significant, but I'm not buying that they're going to get back in the playoff race. And I think at some point, I mean, this rotation still has been bad. They're not going to be able to win with this kind of rotation, so I'll say out.
That's where I'm at as well. I'll say out. In or out, Newt gets more starts in center field than Victor Scott II for the remainder of the season. I'll say out on this. I do think Victor Scott II will be somebody that gets fewer starts than we had seen previously, but not fewer than Nootbaar.
I'll say in. I think they want to get more looks of Nootbaar in center field down the stretch, and lefty and lefty get the decisions. I think they'll go Nootbaar.
I'm going to lean towards out, but I don't feel great about that answer because I could see where they just try and do Nootbaar in center field, but I think they're going to value the defense too much to where he'll get more starts.
In or out, BK will legitimately believe that he can cliff dive after his trip to Casa Bonita this weekend.
You going to cliff dive when you're at Casa Bonita?
I don't think that's an option for
They have the waterfall,
there.
right?
Yeah, but there's like actual cliff divers.
No, you just pay for it, man.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, you just
pay an extra $50, slide it under the table.
Yeah, and you just lie and you tell them like, "Hey, I'm actually an experienced cliff diver."
Out. I can't picture BK as a cliff diver.
No chance. I'm afraid of heights, so it seems
you go.
very unlikely.
It's Casa Bonita, man.
For me to...
You don't get that opportunity very often.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, the initial top 25 for college football is out. T-Bone's Illini are in the top 15. What does this mean for them historically? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals beat the Cubs last night 3-2 as they take 2 of 3 from Chicago. They are back in action tonight as they start a 3-game set with the Colorado Rockies. 6:45 will be first pitch. Miles Michaelis will be on the mound for St. Louis. The Sports Update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. If you're going to play along with the lineup game later on today, for the next 10 seconds, turn your radio down. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do so. 3, 2, 1. No Jordan Walker in the lineup today. Also, no Brendan Donovan in the lineup. I do find that interesting, Alex. I'm a little surprised to not see Jordan Walker coming off of a successful weekend. They're not going up against a quality pitcher today with Colorado. I know a lot of this stuff is already kind of pre-written out. They've scheduled out how they want to see these guys get the playing time, so I'm not freaking out or anything. But I am a little surprised by this. Are you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little, especially for somebody who performed well in that Cubs series to where you felt like you were building it. But, I mean, I guess to Ollie's point when we had him in Friday, like, look, you're in a lose-lose situation. Like, this is what's going to happen, and it was just one of those that you wonder if maybe this is their chance to try and get Victor Scott right, where you're going up against a non-quality pitcher to maybe you could get his confidence going. You've got Nootbaar back in there. But I still think I'd have Jordan Walker, and I try and capitalize when he has good series like he did against the Cubs.
I think it really comes down to Nootbaar. Like, they want Nootbaar to get opportunities. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, he's at the top of your lineup today. Again, spoiler alert, but...
I just realized that.
That guy's going to be at the top of your lineup. You clearly still believe in him, and Alec Burleson's considered to be a middle-of-the-order hitter for you right now. So it gets tight there. When you got Herrera as a DH, those two guys in the corner outfield, there's not really another spot for Walker. And it's just...
They're going to have to trade like 2 people. 3 if Arenado's still here this offseason.
Correct.
Like, you are going to have to trade it, which is why you should buy out Arenado, because then you're only trading 2 guys away. You lessen the amount of mistakes you could potentially make in terms of trading the wrong guy off of your roster versus if you keep Arenado and trade 3 guys.
Then you're not doing it out of need. You're doing it out of what is the best move for us.
Yes.
If you're able to get rid of Arenado's money, or
teams
you
can't take advantage
to
of you.
Go ahead and DFA him, outright release him, whatever it may be. All right, let's get to the conversation we wanted to have here with college football, because the AP Top 25 has been released, Alex. Now, we had already seen the coaches poll, and in that, Illinois came in at number 12. Missouri was on the outside looking in. With the brand new AP Top 25, T-Bone, your Illini are
23.
Number 12 again.
Number 12. That is indeed the case. T-Bone, you had a stat on this. How long it has been since Illinois was most recently in the top 25 AP poll to begin the season?
Yeah, the last time they made the preseason AP Top 25 was all the way back in 2008 when they came in at number 20.
You weren't even born yet.
What were you doing in 2008, Alex?
I was 18. So, college? Is that right? Yeah.
When did you graduate from high school?
I was going to say, that's not right.
I was like,
that's
you know
not
this more
right.
than
No,
me.
yeah, I was a junior in high school.
At 18?
At 18. 2008. I graduated in 2009.
Oh.
So you were
was
going
18.
into your senior year.
Yeah. Summer of 2008 going into 2009. Going to be a senior.
I was a sophomore in high school at the time.
I would have been second grade.
Oh, boy.
And now we've just differed.
Yeah, it's been a while since the Illini have been in the top 25. T-Bone, what happens when the Illini are in the top 25?
Well, guys, it's not been great for them.
Good. Positive vibes.
Over the last 11 times that Illinois has started in the preseason AP Top 25, only twice have they finished that season in the AP Top 25. And the last time that happened, I was not born, 1990, when they were number 11 in the preseason AP Top 25 and finished at 25.
I was also just born, so right around there.
Been a while for
Not what you want.
No.
We do have a really good week 1, man. I know that preseason polls, do they really matter? No, but what they do matter is for this, Alex. It's the anticipation of what that first week could potentially bring. So, as an example of this, August 30th, Saturday morning, Big Fox, number 1 versus number 3. Texas versus Ohio State is one of the first matchups that we're going to see this season, and that's amazing. Depending on which poll you look at, it's either 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3. Penn State actually ended up as the number 2 team in the AP poll. Ohio State came in as number 3 in that poll. Number 4, Clemson, is taking on number 9, LSU, that night on Saturday night as well. And then later on that week, on Sunday night, we will have Notre Dame versus Miami, number 6 versus number 10 in this updated AP poll. So 3 matchups of top 15 opponents in the first week of the college football season. Doesn't get a whole hell of a lot better than that. And as a Mizzou fan, I'm personally excited about it because they play on Thursday the following week.
Oh, yeah, that is a bonus. Yeah, I think Illinois plays on Friday of that week, too, so I get to enjoy those games as well.
Yeah, you guys play Western Illinois on Friday night on Peacock.
I got to get my Peacock subscription
Do
renewed.
you have a Peacock subscription?
I used to, and then I got rid of it. Now I got to get it back for
Great,
Western Illinois.
I got to reapply for this one.
Don't worry, Mizzou is on SEC Network, Alex, so you don't have to get a subscription for that.
I have that one. Is Mizzou the best team out of the top 25?
In the top 25 poll, Mizzou comes in. BYU would be technically like of the others receiving votes, they're the top one, so they would be 26th. Utah would be 27th, Baylor 28, Louisville 29, USC 30, Georgia Tech 31, and Missouri at 32. Mizzou is not seen as being a great team by your general SEC/college football media right now. I think there are too many questions about their quarterback position. It is interesting to me that Ole Miss has many of the same questions as Missouri, and both of them have been very similar teams over the last couple of years, and yet Ole Miss gets the benefit of the doubt. They're listed at 21. Mizzou does not. They're listed as 30 to 35 in most of these polls right now, and that's not to suggest that they should be flipped. I just find it kind of interesting as to why that is the case. Why is Ole Miss the one that gets the benefit of the doubt, whereas Mizzou is on the outside looking in? I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you. I guess maybe it's just Lane Kiffin, but it would seem to me that the programs are extremely similar, and I think it speaks to the fact that from like 20 to 35, all of the teams are kind of throw them in the bucket, and they're kind of the same.
And then when you find out about your quarterback, maybe you get a little bit more of a boost once Mizzou knows who it is and how good he is.
I don't think that we're going to have an answer on that, by the way, for Mizzou before week 1. I think going into KU, we will. But going into week 1, my guess is you'll see something very similar to what it was when it was Sam Horn versus Brady Cook. And they both played against, forget who it was that year, but that first week of the season, they both ended up playing. It was Brady Cook in the first half, and then Sam Horn got the second half of that game. I think you'll see something similar this year. Yeah,
and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the way that Drink kind of played that out going into that game, he said, hey, both will play. He didn't just break it down to...
That's what it was.
He didn't break it down to, one's getting the first half, one's getting the second half. And then once you saw that game, it was, okay, so Brady Cook played with all the starters, so that's the starter. Sam Horn, though they can call this a competition, clearly is viewed as QB2 right now.
By the time Sam Horn got into the game, it was 28-3, game was over.
Yeah. And then they were just running
the ball the rest of the way, basically. So you knew, okay, this is labeled as a competition, but it's really not. I think this one will be different. I even think you could see something where Bo Prabula gets the first reps, he gets that first quarter, and then maybe Sam Horn gets the second quarter. So that way they're able to see what they look like in pressurized situations before the game gets completely out of hand, which it should against Central Arkansas in the first week of the year. I truly, and based on all of the reporting that's coming out of camp, and there were some beat writers that were able to go to the most recent scrimmage, kudos to Mizzou for allowing that to happen. A lot of programs don't nowadays.
Yeah, we didn't.
I think it seems like it's neck and neck, dude. I really don't believe they have much separation between the two.
Does that make you worry?
Not really, because I don't think that the bar is all that high. I mean, Brady Cook was fine over the last couple of years. He was not a world beater. It sounds like Bo Prabula is probably most similar to Brady. Good legs, not a big cannon of an arm, but pretty accurate for the most part. He's going to be more your dink and dump, get the ball across the middle, and then let your playmakers go to work. It sounds like, again, this is according to people that have been there, that are around the program more often, Sam Horn has a cannon, but it's just more erratic. You don't necessarily always know where it's going.
Anthony Richardson got it.
Yeah, and he's super athletic, but he's not as much of a runner as Bo Prabula. So it's very different stylistically. Are you dreaming on the guy that is inexperienced, that maybe can hone it in Sam Horn, but has all of the physical tools that you'd want, or the guy in Bo Perbula that is more of like a polished product, so to speak, but the ceiling might not be as high because he doesn't have as strong of an arm. You're not going to push down the field as much. It is going to look more similar to what it's been previously with Brady Cook, which was good enough to win you double-digit games in back-to-back seasons. I don't know. That's kind of what their decision is seemingly right now internally. Coming up next, we'll hit the rewind here on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you guys missed any of the show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. The free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. That is all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
101 ESPN app, free to download, super easy to use, and that is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We had a good conversation with Katie Wu. We also talked with John Jay, Cardinals outfield coach, earlier today as well. All available on the podcast page after the show today. Cardinals back in action this evening. They are going up against a team that has really given them some struggles so far this year. In the Colorado Rockies, of course, is who I'm mentioning. They have a terrible pitcher on the mound. I'm talking about Colorado.
Are you?
And us.
Are you?
Yeah.
Chase Dollander. He has a 6.7 ERA on the season.
Is that a guy that the Cardinals have seen yet?
They have not seen him just yet.
Right,
So this one
His
will be a lot
most
more.
recent outings, 2 starts in the month of August. He has gone a total of 6 innings and has given up 9 earned runs against the White Sox and the Houston Astros.
Okay, now what about our starter that starts tonight? What's his month look like?
Miles Michaelis on the mound for the Cardinals
Good
as well.
starts.
Over-under for this game, I'll just go ahead and mention this for entertainment reasons only, is set at 9.
That's it?
I'm going
I would have thought double digits with
I
the
would take the
over-under.
over in this game.
9 might be the first 3 innings.
Yeah, I would take
this
the over in
ballpark's
this
going
one.
to play the ball down a little bit, unlike Coors.
I'll take the over.
I'm going under. I'm saying bounce back start for Michaelis. I'm going under 9.
What's a bounce back start for Michaelis look like?
Like
5
5.
innings, 2 earned runs.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
I mean, that would be a bounce back.
yeah.
I was thinking a bounce back is like
I'll say
5
Cardinals.
and 4 earned
I'll
runs.
say Cardinals win like 6-2.
Last time that Michaelis went up against the Colorado Rockies,
Doesn't count. It was in Colorado, wasn't it?
it was. I thought he had a start.
I don't think he did.
No, he didn't. Maybe I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of Polanco.
Oh, Fetty. It was Fetty that had the start in.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one.
How do you do?
Mix the 2 up. Did not go well.
Oh, shocker.
You thought this was a
Still
bad pitching
went under,
matchup. Imagine if Fetty started this game.
Oh, that's
I will
impressive.
give today's show a 7.6. 7.6 would be my rating for today's show, Alex. What would you
You
think?
guys carried the load today. I felt like mentally I was out of this one, so I'm going to go 7.2. So I apologize. I didn't do
Well, because you said you were mentally out,
didn't
I'm going
do
to
a
go
whole lot.
6.1.
I didn't do a whole lot with this one. You know, I think the dog got to me yesterday in the movie theater.
That makes sense.
You know, late movie, dog bark the whole time.
I'm surprised you went and saw. What time? You said a 9:10 showtime? That's
I had
past
to
your
go when
bedtime.
I
I
had
wonder
to go.
why you weren't in.
I had to go when the girls went to sleep.
Oh,
Cardinals next 3 against Colorado. Michaelis, Libby, McGreevy on the mound for them. How many of these games do they win? 3 games against Colorado. Michaelis, Libby, McGreevy. How many do they win?
I'm going to say you win 2 of 3.
I'm going to go 3.
Sweep?
I don't think you win all 3.
The reason I say that, this team is screaming like they're giving me playoff vibes.
Are you being serious?
I don't believe that they're going to do it, but wouldn't it be a Cardinals thing to like sell at the deadline and then somehow like make this
Tebow bought
interesting?
in
Decide
because-
which one's more likely. They're going to win like their next 2. And at that point, will have won 6 of their last 8, including series wins against the Dodgers and the Cubs. And then you lose that 3rd game to begin the slide. That feels very Cardinals-y to me. So I'm going to go 2 out of 3 as well.
If they win all 3, then the chance of don't bring Arenado back are going to get really loud really quick.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. We will talk it all over tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.